Chapter 316. The old man frowned slightly and turned to look at the young girl who was walking in. His face darkened. "You're Yun Luofeng? Yun Luofeng's granddaughter?" Yun Luofeng blinked lightly. "It seems like I'm the only one named Yun Luofeng." Me. The old man brushed his sleeves. "You're so young and yet you're already so naughty. You dare to blackmail an old man? When did I make Yun Luofeng so angry that he had a heart attack?" Yun Luofeng curled his lips. "My old man's heart isn't good and he can't take fright. You're so fierce to him. If something happens to him because of you, the medical city really can't afford to compensate." Yun Luofeng rolled his eyes. When did his heart become so fragile? However, in order to cooperate with his granddaughter, Yun Luofeng lifted his hand to his forehead and pretended to be weak. "Sigh, I'm a person who can't take a fright. You scared me just now and made me sick. I'm now dizzy and my heart is twitching. Tell me, how does your medical city plan to compensate me?" "You." The old man's expression suddenly changed. "Yun Luofeng, you're shameless." This old man had just been jumping around and had a big temper. Now he looked like he was on the verge of collapse. Who would believe that? Shameless? No one can be more shameless than you. Yun Luofeng curled his lips. "After all, I didn't say that I would let my opponent stand still and let my family beat him up in the arena." The old man's fluctuating emotions slowly calmed down. He said expressionlessly, "Yun Luofeng, no matter what you say, none of your Yun family members will escape today." Squeak squeak. Milk tea crawled out from Yun Luofeng's sleeve. A pair of round eyes looked at the old man with disdain. That expression seemed to be mocking him. The old man was furious. This Yun family was extremely daring. Even a gold-seeking rat was so daring. Since that was the case, he would first crush this damned gold-seeking rat to death. "You're courting death," the old man shouted loudly. He raised his hand to grab the little hamster that had burrowed into Yun Luofeng's palm. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Milk tea hid into Yun Luofeng's sleeve with a swoosh. Only her little head was exposed as she squeaked mockingly. "Xiaofeng, be careful." Yun Qingya turned pale with fright. With a leap, she dove towards the old man who was attacking Yun Luofeng. Her handsome face was filled with anxiety. But, just as the old man's hand was about to touch Yun Luofeng, Yun Luofeng's figure flashed and he disappeared. When the old man came back to his senses, a gust of cold wind hit him from behind, causing his back to stiffen. Boom! The girl kicked the old man's back, sending him flying several meters away. Even the wall was smashed by his body, and he fell into the crowd on the street. The entire Yun family fell silent because of the girl's actions. Even the middle-aged men that the old man had brought along were stunned. His master's strength had long broken through to the earth spirit realm, but this young girl only used one kick to send him flying. Even though part of the reason was that the Lord had underestimated the enemy, if one wanted to kick him, one's own strength had to reach the level of an earth spirit. A teenage earth spiritualist, what kind of concept was that? No one would believe him if he told them. But now, this scene was playing out in front of them. The old man looked at Yun Luofeng in a daze. "Girl, what realm has your strength broken through to?" Yun Luofeng looked at the old man in the crowd. "The same level as him." Chapter 317. Boom. As if a bolt of lightning had struck down, the old man was dumbfounded. Even his breathing became uneven. He hurriedly covered his heart and staggered backwards. Just as Yun Qingya came back to her senses, she saw the old man holding his heart and falling backwards. She hurriedly stepped forward to support the old man. "Father, how are you?" The old man leaned on Yun Qingya's body and rolled his eyes. He opened his mouth but could not make a sound. Yun Qingya hurriedly stroked his chest and helped him breathe. She asked nervously, "Father, are you feeling better?" After a long time, the old man finally felt that he could breathe again. He fiercely sucked in a breath of cold air and glared at Yun Luofeng angrily. "Damned girl, tell me, how many times have you scared me ever since I came back to Long Yuan country? Furthermore, you actually broke through to the earth spirit realm without a sound. That was an earth spirit realm. At such an old age, he had only reached the middle stage of the high spirit realm. This girl was only 15 years old, yet she had already become an earth spirit realm. How could he live like this? It was truly infuriating to compare oneself to others. Although this was what Yun Luo had said, he felt very proud in his heart. Which family's granddaughter was as talented as his? Not to mention Mu Wushuang, even the young miss of the spirit sect might not be able to compare to her. At this moment, outside the Prime Minister's residence, there was a large crowd. Among these people, there were also the people who had mocked Yun Luofeng just now. Now, looking at the scene in front of them, everyone miraculously quietened down. It was so quiet that even the breathing of the people beside them could be heard clearly. A person who had broken through to the earth spirit realm at the age of 15 was actually called trash by them. If she was still trash, how could there be geniuses in this world? Thinking of this, those who had humiliated her all lowered their heads in shame. Some of them even wished they could find a hole to hide in. I originally thought that the young miss of the Yun family, Yun Luofeng, only knew medical skills and was still unable to cultivate. However, I had forgotten that her medical skills were so powerful that she could even cure the second master of the Yun family. Why couldn't she cure herself? It turns out that she had unknowingly grown to this point. If I had known Yun Luofeng's strength, I wouldn't have humiliated her at all. Right, where is Jing Lin? He was the one who encouraged us to humiliate Miss Yun. Where did he go? Jing Lin? Yun Luofeng, who originally had no intention of discussing with the people outside, couldn't help but turn his head to look after hearing these two words. That day, when she had killed her way into the imperial palace, Jing Lin had already escaped as soon as he saw that the situation was not good. However, she had not expected that he would not leave Long Yuan country. Instead, he was hiding in the dark, trying to use other people's voices to disgust her. But what Jing Lin didn't expect was that not only would she not be moved by those insulting voices, she was also no longer the trash she used to be. Master. Right at this time, Yi Ling carried an old man who was trembling all over and walked in from outside the door. She threw him on the ground in front of Yun Luofeng. This guy was sneaking around here, so I caught him and brought him in. Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and looked at Jing Lin on the ground. The corners of his lips curled up. I don't have time to deal with him now. You keep an eye on him. After I've settled the matter in the medical city, I'll come and settle the score with him. The girl's voice was demonic and awe-inspiring, causing Jing Lin's body to stiffen. He lowered his head tightly, wishing he could bury it in the ground. Chapter 318. If he had known earlier, he would have decisively left Long Yuan country and fled far away. It would have been better than being caught by this woman. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. No matter how much Jing Lin regretted it, it was useless. Yun Luofeng no longer looked at him. Her eyes turned to the old man from the medical city, and her evil black eyes were filled with a smile. How did your medical city hurt my second uncle back then? One day, I will make you pay 10,000 times the price. The old man sneered and slowly got up from the ground. His mocking gaze fell on Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng, do you think I'm the only one from the medical city who came here? Hehe, I have to say, your luck is really good. If the young miss of the spirit sect reported your matter to the medical city, maybe the medical city would only send an earth spirit warrior. However, who told you to be so lucky? This time, our medical city happened to be near Long Yuan country, so... Before he could finish his sentence, an even older voice slowly came from the void. Little girl from the Yun family, your talent is indeed not bad. It's much higher than your second uncle's. If the person we faced back then wasn't your second uncle, but you, maybe I would have to personally make a move to capture you. Walking in the air. Heavenly spirit realm? Yun Luofeng stared at the old man who had appeared in the air, and her eyes gradually darkened. She did not expect that there would be a heavenly spirit realm cultivator coming to the Yun family this time. This time, she had indeed been careless. In the beginning, the reason why she did not reveal her strength in front of others was because she had considered the existence of the medical city. For a power like the medical city, the experts were all very busy. Therefore, they would not send people who were too strong to the Yun family. They would only send people who were one level higher than the Yun family. This was also why second uncle was able to escape with his life back then. For a small Yun family, there was no need to send out an expert of the heavenly spirit realm. But if these people knew of Yun Luofeng's strength, it would be different. Thus, for the past 6 months, Yun Luofeng had been hiding herself. However, she never expected that the heavenly spirit realm of the medical city would be working near Longyuan country. Her luck was truly too bad. Little Feng'er. Yun Qingya slowly walked forward and gently held Yun Luofeng's hand. There was a trace of a smile in her handsome eyes. You are the hope of the Yun family. No matter what, nothing can happen to you. The man's tone was resolute, as if he was facing death with equanimity. Second uncle, Yun Luofeng frowned. We are a family. I will not let you face these enemies alone. So what if he was a heavenly spirit practitioner? Even if she had to die, she wouldn't let these people touch second uncle. Yun Qingya smiled and turned to look at the old man in the air. If I commit suicide here, can you let them go? A smile blossomed on the old man's wrinkled face, revealing a mouthful of black teeth. His wrinkled eyes narrowed into slits. If it was before, I would be willing. However, this little girl from the Yun family is far too dangerous. If I don't kill her, I'm afraid that the medical city will be destroyed because of her. Yun Qingya's heart sank. I was the one who defeated the young city lord of the medical city back then. It has nothing to do with them. Heh. The old man laughed twice. His old laughter was like dry bark, dry and unpleasant to hear. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame her for being surnamed Yun. Who asked her to be your niece? Chapter 319. It is precisely because she is your niece. Therefore, all members of the Yun family must die. Yun Qingya's heart sank bit by bit as she clenched her fists tightly. Suddenly, a hand landed on his fist, gently wrapping around his trembling fist. Second uncle, I won't let you suffer like you did 10 years ago. The young girl's black eyes were clear and bright, firm and confident. Then, her eyes slanted towards the old man in the air. This time, I was indeed careless. However, if you want to kill me, you must be prepared to be bitten by me. Little girl, being too arrogant is not a good thing. The old man's voice was old and hoarse, as if someone had used their fingernails to lightly scratch across the table, and it was very uncomfortable to hear. Second uncle, go to grandpa's side. Yun Luofeng's expression gradually became serious. Yi Ling, you and the other members of the army protect them with your lives. We can't let my grandfather and second uncle suffer any harm. Facing the heavenly spirit realm, she didn't dare to underestimate him. After all, if she was the slightest bit careless when fighting against an expert of this level, she would die here. Therefore, she had to face this battle with all her might. Master, don't worry. Even if I die, I won't let the general and second master suffer any harm. Yi Ling's expression froze as she solemnly guaranteed. Little Yun, the old man said with a low laugh, it's useless for you to do this. After I kill you, not a single member of the Yun family will be able to escape. Is that so? Yun Luofeng stepped forward. I'm afraid that when the time comes, it won't be as you wish. She only needed to stall for time. Before Yun Xiao left, she had told him that he would definitely return to the Yun family the next day. As for her, she only needed to persevere until Yun Xiao returned home. I've already said it before, being too arrogant is not a good thing. In the air, the old man snorted. His body was like a burst of white smoke as he quickly floated in front of Yun Luofeng. His speed was very fast. It was so fast that no one could see his movements clearly. His soft hand had already arrived in front of Yun Luofeng. Bang! Yun Luofeng's expression became serious as she faced the old man's attack. Suddenly, she felt a powerful spiritual power pass through her palm and into her internal organs. The tips of Yun Luofeng's feet clung tightly to the ground, as if she had taken root there. She swallowed the blood that almost gushed out of her mouth, and her lips curled into a faint smile. The power of a celestial spirit practitioner is only SOSO. The old man didn't expect Yun Luofeng's physique to be so strong. He couldn't help but be startled. Little girl, I've really underestimated you. A girl like you can't continue to grow. Otherwise, My medical city will be destroyed by your hands sooner or later. This time, the old man didn't use his soft palm to attack Yun Luofeng. Instead, he clenched his fist and his aura surged out in all directions. Yun Luofeng's expression was solemn. His black eyes stared closely at the old man's movements. Then, the old man finally made his move again. Facing the old man's stern fist, Yun Luofeng's body moved to the side, narrowly dodging it. At the same time, the old man's fist came again from the side of his waist, right in front of him. Bang! The fist landed on Yun Luofeng's waist. Her body was quickly sent flying several meters away. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, and her beautiful face was as pale as a sheet. Xiaofeng. Yun Luo and Yun Qingya turned pale with fright. Ignoring the army's obstruction, they quickly walked in front of Yun Luofeng. Chapter 320. Xiaofeng, how are you? Yun Qingya hurriedly helped Yun Luofeng up as her cold gaze swept towards the old man. The person you want to kill is me, and the person you want to deal with is also me. If you dare to touch my niece, I, Yun Qingya, will not let you off even if I become a ghost. The man stood upright in the breeze, his green robes fluttering in the wind. Between his brows, there was a look of determination as if he was facing death with equanimity. The old man stood in the air as the corners of his lips curled into a faint smile. Become a ghost? I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to become a ghost. Everyone in the Yun family must die, especially Yun Luofeng, this talented little girl. The people of the medical city really are a breeze. Suddenly, accompanied by a gentle breeze, an old voice floated in from the entrance of the Yun family home. It was indifferent and cold. The old man in the air frowned as he turned to look at the two people who had appeared at the door. It was an old man and a young man. The old man was dressed in a crescent moon-colored robe. There was a faint smile on his aged face. His gaze was indifferent and cold as he stared deeply at Yun Luofeng. Beside the old man, a beautiful girl of 17 or 18 years of age was supporting him. This young girl was extremely delicate and her facial features were very beautiful. Her big bright eyes darted around and there was a dignified smile on her face the entire time. With a single glance, one could tell that this young girl was either rich or noble and was definitely not an ordinary person. Elder Ningxin. When Yun Luo saw the two of them appear, his heart was suddenly filled with joy. Although he still did not know who Elder Ning was, since he had appeared here, it proved that he could handle this matter. Elder Ning did not say anything. His indifferent eyes stared at the old man in the air as he said indifferently, Lu Yin, not only are you over 100 years old, you are also a heavenly spirit realm cultivator. Aren't you afraid of losing your reputation by bullying a junior like this? Lu Yin's eyes darkened slightly. Elder Ning, the matters of our medical city have nothing to do with your Ning family. Even if your Ning clan is powerful, you won't be able to resist a colossus like the Doctors Association. If you help the Yun clan, you'll be making an enemy out of our medical city. Making an enemy out of our medical city is also making an enemy out of the Doctors Association. In the face of Lu Yin's danger, Elder Ning smiled faintly. The Doctors Association will not interfere in this matter, and this old man just happens to owe the Yun family's lass a favor. If you want to touch someone from the Yun family, this old man will not allow it. Lu Yin's face darkened. If Elder Ning was here, he really wouldn't be able to make a move against the Yun family today. Just as the two old men were exchanging blows, Elder Rong, who had already received the news, hurried over. He wiped the sweat off his face and quickly walked in front of the two men. Lu Yin, not only is the little girl from the Yun family someone that Elder Ning wants to protect, she has also done a great favor for the medical pavilion. Not only does he not agree to you harming the Yun family, I don't agree either. Lu Yin stared coldly at the sweating Elder Rong as a cold light flashed across his old eyes. Even the medical pavilion wants to meddle in other people's business? He, Elder Rong laughed dryly. The medical pavilion and the medical city are both members of the Doctors Association. All the organizations that are affiliated to the Doctors Association have signed a contract to never harm one another. Hence, if the medical city hurts me, you will be expelled from the Doctors Association. Lu Chen's heart gradually sank. He never thought that a tiny Yun family would attract Elder Ning and the medical pavilion. It seems that I have really underestimated this little girl, Yun Luofeng. Chapter 321. Could it be that you want me to just let it go? Lu Yin frowned and asked coldly. Elder Rong pondered for a moment. Why don't we make a 3-year agreement? The Doctors' Association holds a meeting every 3 years. At that time, all the doctors will attend the meeting. Unfortunately, the little girl from the Yun family is also a doctor. At that time, all the grudges between you and the Yun family can be settled at this meeting. At this point, Elder Rong paused for a moment. If you insist on touching the Yun family now, then I can only fight you. And the rules of the Doctors' Association cannot be changed. Even if the young miss of the medical city is the disciple of an elder of the Doctors' Association, it will not change your fate of being expelled from the medical pavilion. Elder Lu Chen, the old man who had been sent flying by Yun Luofeng, hurriedly stood up and walked to Lu Chen's side, his expression full of anxiety. Let's go. In the end, Lu Chen still listened to Elder Rong's words. He lightly flung his sleeves, and before leaving, he turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Little girl, in 3 years, I will wait for you at the Doctors' Association. I hope you can come see me alive. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. I'll give you this sentence. I hope you don't die too early. Hee hee. Lu Chen laughed hoarsely. I still have the same words. Don't be too arrogant. After saying that, he did not say anything else, and his old figure quickly disappeared in front of everyone. The rest of the people from the medical city also hurriedly left, quickly following Lu Chen's footsteps. Staring at the figures of these people leaving, Yun Luofeng's conviction to become stronger deepened once again. There was always someone stronger than her. Her strength was already considered the strongest in Long Yuan country, but the entire continent was so vast, and there were countless people stronger than her. Only by becoming strong enough could one not be bullied by others. Thank you for just now. Yun Luofeng withdrew his gaze from the departing crowd and looked towards Elder Ning and Elder Rong, sincerely thanking them. Elder Ning smiled faintly. I've been in the Long Yuan kingdom for the past few days, so the news that Yun Qingya is still alive has reached my ears. I was worried that the people from the medical city would come to cause trouble for the Yun family, so I rushed over. However, Elder Rong, you're so close to the Yun family, yet you're not as fast as me. Elder Rong smiled awkwardly. This, looking at the old man's awkward expression, Elder Ning couldn't help but mock. Could it be that you went to pick up girls? That's why you're so slow. Suddenly, Elder Rong's entire face turned red. He coughed dryly and said, this doesn't count as picking up a girl. It doesn't count. I'm just having a heart-to-heart with an old friend. It's just a heart-to-heart. You're covered in the smell of rouge. Did you have a heart-to-heart talk on the bed? Poochie. Yun Luofeng could not help but laugh out loud. Soon after, when she saw the 2 old men looking at her, she slightly withdrew the corners of her mouth. I just didn't expect Elder Rong to be so vigorous despite his old age. Continue talking, continue. Elder Rong's face darkened, and his expression became even more awkward. He wished he could find a hole to hide in. Little Yun, don't you have other things to take care of? Elder Rong looked at Jing Lin, who was lying on the ground, and said angrily, go and take care of him, don't worry about us. Elder Ning, this old thing, actually said such words in front of little Yun. Where would he put his old face in the future? Especially since there were so many citizens of the Long Yuan nation here. He had lost all his face. Jing Lin, who was lying on the ground, froze when he heard Elder Rong turn the spearhead towards him. Chapter 322. General Yun, Miss Yun. Jing Lin's face was mournful. I had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai, and offended you too, oh no, and the second master of the Yun family. I deserve to die, please let me go. I promise to disappear completely from now on, and will never appear in front of you again. Regret now? Yun Luofeng's lips curved into a faint smile. Don't you think it's already too late? She took a step forward and slowly walked in front of Jing Lin. Even though the young girl's face was still full of smiles, that smile made Jing Lin feel a chill in his heart, and his entire body could not help but tremble. Miss Yun, I was wrong, I really know I was wrong, please spare my life, I won't dare to do it again. Jing Lin fiercely kowtowed, his face full of fear, and he no longer had the arrogant attitude he had at the beginning. 10 years ago, my grandfather also begged you like this. Yun Luofeng slightly raised her chin, looking down at Jing Lin who was kneeling in front of her. And you, do you still remember what you said? Jing Lin's body trembled, his entire body trembling, his eyes filled with fear. He wanted to continue begging for mercy, but his throat seemed to be choked by a hand, and he could not make a sound. That year, you faced grandfather who was kneeling on the ground and begging you to save second uncle, and said that even if grandfather kowtowed to death in front of you, you would not save him. Jing Lin clenched his fists tightly. The scene of that year was still vivid in his mind, but now the roles had been reversed. The person who was kowtowing and begging was him. This was really an eye for an eye. Jing Lin, Yun Luofeng glanced sideways at him. Half a year ago, when grandfather returned from the border, you and the crown prince came to find him, and forced him to break off the engagement, and even said that I would never be able to cultivate for the rest of my life. And I said at that time, with your strength, you cannot heal my body. Yun Luofeng squatted down, her fingers gently brushing across Jing Lin's neck, causing his body to shiver. Miss Yun, I beg you. Jing Lin's eyes were pleading, his throat was a little dry, and he managed to choke out these few words with great difficulty. His throat tightened, and a jade-like hand tightly gripped his neck. Immediately, a feeling of suffocation spread throughout his entire heart. Don't worry, I won't let you die. I will only send you to the backyard to accompany Gaotu and his son. Jing Lin's eyes widened. Before he could utter a single word, Yun Luofeng's palm landed on his chest. In that instant, he heard the sound of his dantian shattering. Gaotu trusted you so much, yet you ran away as soon as you saw that the situation was not good. I believe he really wants to see you now. Qingyang, throw him into the backyard to accompany Gaotu and his son. Yes. Miss Qingyang excitedly walked to Jing Lin's side, and easily lifted his body. Then, she tiptoed, and jumped into the backyard. The backyard, the most remote courtyard, was filled with weeds. At this moment, in a corner of the courtyard, Gao Ling's body was curled up into a ball. He stared blankly at the commotion outside. He wanted to escape, but the Yun family was watching him too closely. Every time before he could make a move, he would be discovered by the Yun family, and he would be beaten up. Just at this moment, the sound of two little girls talking came from outside the door. Xiao Lu, our miss is really amazing. Just now, when a cultivator from the medicine city came knocking on our door, our miss actually sent him flying with one kick. She's so cool, I'm almost infatuated with our miss. Chapter 323. Of course, Our Lady is a powerful cultivator at the Earth Spirit rank. Naturally, she's extremely powerful. I've decided that from now on, Our Lady will be my goddess. If anyone dares to say anything bad about Our Lady, I'll fight him to the death. Gao Ling didn't hear anything else. He only heard the words Earth Spirit and Jie. Yun Luofeng is an Earth Spirit. That's impossible, that's impossible. Her medical skills are already so powerful, it's impossible for her cultivation to be so powerful as well. Besides, everyone knows that Yun Luofeng is a good-for-nothing. All of you shut up, all of you shut up. Gao Tu roared angrily and charged into the courtyard. Unfortunately, before he could charge out, the guard at the door kicked him and sent him flying. He landed pathetically on the ground. Yun Luofeng can't be an Earth Spirit. She's a good-for-nothing, a good-for-nothing. Gao Ling's eyes gradually filled with madness as he screamed shrilly, "Get Yun Luofeng over here, she's a good-for-nothing." The two servant girls who had been in a heated discussion heard Gao Ling's words and their eyes filled with anger. They charged into the courtyard aggressively. "How dare you insult Our Lady? Our Lady is a genius. It's just that she hides her abilities well. What right do you have to insult her? Compared to Our Lady, you're the real good-for-nothing." That's right, Our Lady has always been very talented. She must have hidden her abilities for so long because she wanted to break off the engagement with you. If you knew about Our Lady's talents, wouldn't you follow her around every day? It's a good thing that Our Lady has hidden herself so that a selfish and treacherous person like you would be exposed to the light. Gao Ling's body slowly fell to the ground as his eyes filled with despair. He knew that these servant girls were right. If he had known that Yun Luofeng had such talents, he would never have broken off the engagement with her. Mph, the servant girl kicked Jiao Ling fiercely. Do you think that you're still the high and mighty crown prince? You're now just a plaything for our lady's hamster. Your status is even lower than ours. Jiao Ling's body trembled as if he had heard the word hamster. The look in his eyes slowly turned from despair to fear. He had been tormented over the past few days. Whenever that hamster was bored, it would come over to play with him. But that kind of play could cost lives. Jiao too had already been toyed with by him. Now that he was the only one left, how long could he be toyed with by the hamster? If Yun Luofeng didn't hide his strength, perhaps he would have married her long ago. Perhaps he could even use her strength to trip Ling men. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. He could only live the rest of his life in regret. Just as Jiao Ling was about to lose all hope, Qing Yang carried Jing Lin into the courtyard with her petite body and threw him to the ground. You've both performed well just now. Qing Yang clapped her hands and turned to look at the two servant girls beside her. I've heard everything that had been said. I'll mention the two of you to the young lady later. Even if you can't join the Steel Flame Corps, you'll still be promoted to be the Yun family's head servant girl. The two maids were overjoyed. Thank you, Miss Qing Yang. Qing Yang smiled. She took one last look at Jing Lin, who had been thrown onto the ground by her. Then, she turned around and walked out of the courtyard. Jing Lin, Jiao Ling stared at the old man who had been tossed onto the ground by Qing Yang, and his expression changed drastically. You damned old thing, how dare you abandon us and run away that day? So what if you've run away? In the end, you've still come here to accompany us, ha ha ha. Chapter 324. Jiao Ling had completely lost his mind. His maniacal voice echoed throughout the entire Yun family home. Then, he pounced towards Jing Lin like a madman and bit down on Jing Lin's flesh. With a loud ripping sound, he tore off a large piece of flesh. His mouth was filled with blood and his expression was hideous. Jing Lin did not even have time to cry for help before he fainted from the pain. Spiritual Gate. It arrived at the top of a tall mountain not far from Long Yuan country. The terrain of this mountain was treacherous and dangerous. Apart from the disciples of the Spiritual Gate, no one else would be able to cross it safely. However, at this moment, the man stopped in front of the Spiritual Gate. His mask reflected a cold light. His black eyes were cold and his red lips were pursed into a straight line under the mask. Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard. The Spiritual Gate Master, Sai Qiong, had led a group of people out to welcome the man. Perhaps he had run too fast, his forehead was covered in sweat. At one glance, he saw the cold man standing at the door and hurried over. Lord Ghost Emperor, why are you here? The man's cold eyes landed on Sai Qiong. His voice was low and hoarse, but it was terrifying. Where is Sai Xian? Sai Qiong was stunned, his eyes filled with astonishment. This man had always been arrogant. When he had first arrived at the Spiritual Gate, his daughter had purposely walked up to him twice, but he had ignored her. Who would have thought that he would personally mention his daughter's name? Could it be that Sai Qiong's luck had really taken a turn for the better and he could curry favor with this man? Lord Ghost Emperor, please follow me. My daughter has just returned to the Spiritual Gate last night. I will send someone to summon her. Sai Qiong was overjoyed. If he could marry Sai Xian to the Ghost Emperor, his status in the mainland would be even higher. The man walked into the Spiritual Gate silently. His black robes fluttered in the breeze, giving off a cold aura. The atmosphere in the study room of the Spiritual Gate was tense. Sai Qiong glanced at the cold man sitting on the chair from time to time, his forehead breaking out in a cold sweat. Ever since the Ghost Emperor had followed him into the Spiritual Gate, he had not spoken a single word. No matter how much Sai Qiong tried to flatter him, the Ghost Emperor did not even look at him. If the Ghost Emperor had really taken a liking to Sai Xian, shouldn't he have asked for more information about her? Instead of being so silent. Just as he was hesitating, the door of the study was pushed open. Sai Xian gently pursed her thin lips and walked into the study anxiously. Father. Sai Xian cautiously glanced at Yun Xiao as her heart grew more and more flustered. She didn't think that Yun Xiao had come here because he had taken a liking to her. This man must have come to vent his anger on Yun Luofeng. If she had known that he would come looking for her, she would not have returned to the spirit gate so quickly. However, didn't the people she had left behind in Longyuan country say that they didn't see Yun Xiao returning to the Yun family? That Lian family didn't even return, so how would they know what he had done? Thinking of this, Sai Xian gradually calmed down her flustered heart. She plucked up her courage and looked up at the cold man sitting in front of her. Abruptly, the man stood up from his chair and slowly walked down the stairs with grim steps. His hoarse voice was filled with a seductive power as it slowly rang in Sai Xian's ears. "I heard that. You admire me?" Sai Xian stared at the cold man in front of her and bit her red lips. "That's right, Yun Xiao, I do like you." Only the heavens knew how much courage it took for her to say those words. After she had said them, she felt her body in a mess and she almost collapsed to the ground. "So," Yun Xiao paused, "you were the one behind the Yun family's incident." Chapter 325. Sai Xian's expression changed and she stumbled back in shock. Her face turned pale and her delicate body trembled as she broke out in a cold sweat. He knew. This man really did know. After he found out about this, he didn't even return to the Yun family and had come straight to the spirit sect to settle the score. Sai Xian, Sai Qiong had a bad feeling about this. What on earth happened? This girl, I've already warned her not to provoke the Ghost Emperor. I never thought that she would still end up provoking him in the end. Sai Xian's lips trembled. "I didn't do it on purpose, I just wanted him too much. Jiao Shaochen was instigated by you and those high spiritualists were also sent by you." Yun Xiao seemed to be mumbling to himself but his cold eyes were fixed on Sai Xian. "You've committed such a grave mistake. The spirit sect can no longer protect you." Sai Xian took a few steps back, her body pressed tightly against the wall. "I didn't hurt Yun Luofeng, I just wanted her to marry Jiao Shaochen. Moreover, isn't she there perfectly fine?" Slap. A slap landed fiercely on her face. Sai Qiong's face was ashen as he bellowed angrily, "Shut up, who allowed you to speak to the Ghost Emperor like that?" After lecturing Sai Xian, Sai Qiong quickly turned towards Yun Xiao. He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said timidly, "Lord Ghost Emperor, Sai Xian has already acknowledged her mistake. Furthermore, she hasn't done anything irredeemable. Please, Lord Ghost Emperor." The man's cold eyes slowly swept towards Sai Qiong. Just this one glance caused Sai Qiong's breathing to stagnate. The fear of death lingered in his heart. He could guarantee that if he dared to speak up for Sai Xian, the person who would die would not be Sai Xian but him. Sai Qiong hardened his heart and said, "Lord Ghost Emperor, Sai Xian has offended you so I'll hand her over to you to deal with." Even though Sai Xian was his most beloved daughter, no matter how much he liked her, he was not willing to implicate the entire spirit sect for her. The Ghost Emperor was far too powerful, so powerful that he could not resist. Hence, for the sake of the spirit sect, he could only give her up. "Father!" Sai Xian cried out in disbelief. Her beautiful eyes were filled with deep despair. "You're giving up on me?" Sai Qiong glanced at Sai Xian coldly. "You made a mistake, so bear it yourself. I won't let you drag the spirit sect down." What he meant was that no matter how Yun Xiao wanted to deal with her, he would not care. Sai Xian's body collapsed on the ground, her beautiful face was deathly pale. She had never imagined that she would lose her life here because of her jealousy. However, Sai Xian's desire to live still made her stand up from the ground. She scrambled over to Yun Xiao and kowtowed fiercely. "Please let me go. As long as you let me go, I promise I won't dare to have any thoughts about you. I'm more willing to use my body to serve Miss Yun." Yun Xiao coldly glanced at her. "Your strength is too weak." The meaning of his words was very clear. Your strength is too weak, and you don't have the qualifications to serve her. No. Sai Xian felt the murderous intent from the man's body and screamed. She then raised her hand to grab Yun Xiao's leg. With a bang, the aura from Yun Xiao's body surged out, causing her trousers to fly open. As this aura was far too powerful, even Sai Xian's arms were shaken to the point where countless wounds split open. Fresh blood flowed out, dyeing her entire arm red. Chapter 326. My entire body belongs to her. Aside from her, no one else has the right to touch me. Even if she had only touched his trousers, Sai Xian's body stiffened as the pain in her heart overshadowed the pain in her arm. Her eyes stared heartbroken at the cold man in front of her. Her heart was slowly being consumed by jealousy. Yun Luofeng. Why is that woman so lucky to be able to receive the wholehearted love of such a perfect, cold man? Yet she was unable to get even a sliver of it. Qin Yuan. Yun Xiao retracted his grim gaze and bellowed coldly, "Take Sai Qiang away after you've dealt with her." He had only been gone for a day, but who would have thought that these people would be so restless? They had actually taken advantage of his absence to have delusional designs on her. He would never allow anyone to harm her. No. Sai Xian shrieked in terror, "Father, save me, I don't want to die, please save me." Sai Qiang's body trembled when he heard his daughter's pleas. In the end, he steeled his heart and turned away, no longer looking at her. "Stop howling, it's useless even if you scream yourself hoarse." Qin Yuan sneered, "However, Sai Xian, I really can't help but admire your courage. You even dare to have designs on my mistress? Did your father not teach you not to provoke my master?" Qin Yuan no longer looked at her after he had spoken. In his heart, Sai Xian was already a dead person. Sai Qiang, on the other hand, was so heartless that he would not even save his own daughter. This was truly an eye-opener for him. "Eat this." Qin Yuan produced a black pill from his robes and handed it to Sai Qiang. "What is this?" Sai Qiang was shaken and his eyes filled with vigilance. "Of course it's poison. Do you think that I would give you a tonic?" Qin Yuan rolled his eyes and laughed disdainfully. "Hurry up and take the poison so that we can be on our way." The word "on their way" could easily cause one's thoughts to go astray. Sai Qiang was clearly the kind of person who would easily think in the wrong direction. "Lord Ghost Emperor has only asked you to take me away, not to kill me. Besides, I've already handed Sai Xian over. Why do you still want to kill me?" Qin Yuan said coldly, "Who said I'm going to kill you? It's just that a heartless person like you can't be trusted. Therefore, you have to take this poison. Only then can we control you and prevent you from biting us in the future." "But Lord Ghost Emperor didn't tell you to do that." Sai Qiang took a few steps back, clearly not wanting to take this black pill. If everything has to be said by the master, then what's the point of having subordinates like us? Hurry up and take the poison so that you can go with me. Otherwise, you and your daughter will go to hell together. Qin Yuan frowned impatiently as his expression turned cold. Sai Qiang hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he still decided to listen to Qin Yuan's orders. He extended his trembling hand and took the black pill. He closed his eyes and swallowed it. Qin Yuan sneered as he watched Sai Qiang swallow the poison. "Are you going to stay and dig a grave for your daughter, or are you going to leave with me immediately?" Sai Qiang shook his head. "Just throw her into the mass grave. Her mistake had nearly dragged the spirit sect down with her. She has no right to enter the ancestral shrine." Sai Xian's body trembled violently. Her pale face was filled with fear. She could not believe that her father, who had once doted on her, could be so heartless. Not only did he leave her in the lurch, he did not even allow her to collect her corpse. Chapter 327. Father, even a vicious tiger will not eat its own cubs. You will receive retribution for your cruelty. Sai Xian cried out in a shrill voice. Her beautiful hair was in a disheveled mess as she glared at Sai Qiang like a madwoman. "You unfilial daughter, you've offended the Ghost Emperor, yet you still dare to speak such treacherous word." Sai Qiang slapped Sai Xian's body and sent it flying out of the way. He then kicked her in the waist. "Who gave you the right to offend the Ghost Emperor? If you had not offended the Ghost Emperor, I would not have been forced to be fed poison. You've harmed me and yet you dare to teach me a lesson? Retribution? If there's retribution, it should be on a rebellious, unfilial daughter like you first." His foot landed on Sai Xian's body again and again. Sai Xian spat out a mouthful of blood from his kick and her face was ashen. Her ribs were broken and she was in so much pain that she could not speak. Qin Yuan crossed his arms and watched the show unfold before him. He seemed to be tired of watching and even pulled a stool over to sit down. His eyes were filled with exuberance. Sir Qin Yuan, this unfilial daughter is far too rebellious. I won't let you do it, I'll deal with her myself. Sai Qiong instantly drew his long sword and stabbed Sai Xian right in front of her heartbroken eyes. Blood spurted from his chest and dyed his face red. His expression was cold and solemn and his face was devoid of emotion. It was as if he had not killed his daughter but a stranger. Sai Qiong. Qin Yuan slowly rose from his stool. You're a selfish person who doesn't even recognize your own family. It's no wonder that my master has refused to accept your spiritual door. It's a good thing that I had already taken precautions and fed you poison. Otherwise, knowing your character, you would bite back at your master sooner or later. Oh, that's right, my master is not your master. You're not even his dog. Sai Qiong did not become angry in the face of Qin Yuan's mockery. Instead, a flattering smile appeared on her face as she said, Young Master Qin Yuan, you're right. I'm not even a dog. May I ask where Lord Ghost Emperor wants me to go? Qin Yuan sneered, Of course we're going to the Yun family. Your daughter has made such a big mistake. As a father, you must go and apologize to my mistress. If my mistress doesn't forgive you, you can go and accompany your daughter. Sai Qiong shivered involuntarily and cursed Sai Xian 1,000 times in her heart. If it wasn't for her, he wouldn't have suffered such a punishment. Young Master Qin Yuan, please lead the way. I'll apologize to her right now. As long as she's appeased, I'm willing to let her hit me as she pleases. A mocking smile appeared on Qin Yuan's face as he looked at Sai Qiong, who was acting like a lackey. He turned around and walked out of the study. Hurry up and catch up. If you're late, master will kill you before mistress can forgive you. Upon hearing this, Sai Qiong hurriedly followed behind Qin Yuan with large strides, General Yun's residence. In the backyard where clear spring water flowed, the girl sat by a tree and played chess by herself. After a long time, she sighed softly, and her pitch-black eyes revealed a faint emotion. My lady, are you thinking about Yun Xiao? Qing Yang covered her lips and giggled. Her large, bright eyes stared unblinkingly at Yun Luofeng as she asked. Yun Luofeng's hand, which was tightly gripping the flag, trembled. He smiled calmly and replied, I'm worried that Yun Xiao has run into some sort of problem. He said that he would only be gone for a day but he still hasn't returned. I can't help but worry about him. After all, Yun Xiao's cultivation method was rather unique. If he were to have a breakthrough in his heavenly spirit method in the middle of a battle, he would fall into a state of madness. This would be extremely disadvantageous to him. Chapter 328. This was also what she was worried about. Oh, that's right. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows slightly, and his gaze turned to Yi Ling. The chef in your mansion last time was pretty good. I wanted to ask you for him, but I was too busy and forgot about it. Ever since I tasted that chef's cooking, even the food of the Yun family has changed. In a few days, send that chef to the Yun family. Yi Ling's eyes showed a hint of confusion. The chef of the third prince's residence was better than the Yun family's? Why didn't he know? The chef of the Yun family was even better than the chefs of the royal family. How could the people of the third prince's residence compare? Miss, Qing Yang glanced at Yun Luofeng carefully. The soup I served you that day was not made by the chef of the third prince's residence. Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow slightly. Then who made the soup? It was. Qing Yang bit her lip and said, it was Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao? Yun Luofeng was stunned and a hint of surprise flashed through his eyes. He clearly did not think that Yun Xiao would have such excellent cooking skills. Just as she fell silent, a familiar scent came from behind her. It carried the unique scent of a man and spread through the air. You knew. The man's voice was low and hoarse as it slowly rang in her ears. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Yun Xiao who had appeared in front of him. There was a smile in his dark eyes. Yun Xiao, you're back? Yes, Yun Xiao looked at Yun Luofeng. At that time, I saw that you were not used to the food of the flowing gold country. So, Yun Xiao, Yun Luofeng interrupted the man, why didn't you tell me earlier that you knew how to cook? Yun Xiao looked deeply at Yun Luofeng. You don't like me doing these things. I was afraid that you would be angry if I did. Why would I be angry? Yun Luofeng frowned and asked in confusion. Yun Xiao was silent for a moment. That day, when I poured water for you, you said that it was Qing Yang's job. I thought that you didn't like me doing these things. Yun Xiao, your cooking skills are not bad. Where did you learn them? Yun Luofeng curled her lips. This time, she had really picked up a treasure. This man was not only good-looking, but also powerful and devoted to her. Now, he had to add another condition. He had to be able to enter the main hall and the kitchen. It seemed like there was nothing he couldn't do. All these years, I've been taking care of my own life. As for cooking, I learned it on my own in the forest of no return. Yun Xiao's gaze was serious and focused, his pair of black eyes filled with the young girl's peerless figure. If you like, I can cook for you every day. Yun Luofeng's voice was very domineering. From now on, you can only wash hands and cook soup for me alone. Where's General Yun? Don't give it to him. Yun Luofeng said without hesitation, not giving any leeway at all. If Grandpa Sheng knew what she had said, he would definitely be infuriated. All right. The corners of Yun Xiao's lips curled up slightly. I'll only cook for you. His smile bloomed only for her alone. His cooking skills would only be displayed for her alone. I already know about the recent happenings in Longyuan country. Yun Xiao's lips curled into a faint smile for a split second before it disappeared, as if it had never appeared at all. However, I've already settled it for you. Sai Xian is dead, and I've brought her father to you. Chapter 329. Yun Luofeng was stunned. She did not expect that Yun Xiao had returned so late because she had gone to the spiritual gate because of her. This man would always do everything for her without her noticing. A warm feeling welled up in Yun Luofeng's heart at the thought of this. She slowly shifted her gaze away from Yun Xiao and looked at the middle-aged man who was striding in behind Qin Yuan. The middle-aged man saw the pitilessly beautiful young lady in front of Yun Xiao at first glance, and a deep sense of amazement flashed across his eyes. No wonder the Ghost Emperor was so angry because of this woman. No man would not be moved by such a beautiful young lady. Lord Ghost Emperor. Sai Qiong quickly stepped forward and bowed deeply at Yun Xiao. Then, he turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, what happened previously was my daughter's fault. I've already punished her, so please forgive the spiritual gate. There was a flattering smile on his face, and he no longer had the awe-inspiring air of a dignified leader of the spiritual gate. Yun Luofeng gently raised his brows. Sai Xian's position in the spiritual gate is rather high. Otherwise, she would not have been able to mobilize so many high spiritualists. Sai Qiong looked a little awkward, but his voice was anxious as he was afraid that Yun Luofeng would misunderstand him. Miss Yun, Sai Xian has gained the favor of the elders in the spiritual gate, which is why they listen to his orders. I can swear that I have nothing to do with this. Is that so? The young lady's eyes were filled with a smile. Her black eyes seemed to be able to see through everything as she stared straight at Sai Qiong. Sai Qiong felt a little guilty. He was very clear that his daughter had mobilized the spiritual gate's forces, but he did not know that this was related to the Ghost Emperor. Out of trust for his daughter, he had handed the power of the spiritual gate to her. Otherwise, based on Sai Xian's abilities, she would not have had the right to mobilize the spiritual gate's powerhouses. Of course, he could not tell Yun Luofeng about this. Miss Yun, I swear to the heavens that I had no idea about this at all. Please believe me. Moreover, I, Sai Qiong, am willing to do anything for you and be loyal to you for the rest of my life. Sai Qiong's expression was no longer as flattering as before. Instead, it was exceptionally serious, causing people to involuntarily believe her words. However, Yun Luofeng didn't believe that Sai Qiong didn't know anything about Sai Xian. If he really didn't know anything, then he would be too useless as the spiritual sect's sect master. He can use it. Yun Xiao glanced at Sai Qiong before her black eyes turned towards Yun Luofeng. She then said seriously, I asked Qin Yuan to feed him poison. With the control of this poison, he will not be able to betray you. Yun Luofeng nodded. The Yun family is lacking an errand boy. Since he's willing to work like an ox or horse, then he'll stay in the Yun family and do odd jobs. Thank you for your mercy, Miss Yun. As the saying goes, a bad life is better than a good death. As long as he could survive, let alone doing odd jobs, even if he was asked to be a slave, he would be willing. The spirit sect is the backer of the Long Yuan nation. How do you want to deal with the royal family? Yun Luofeng lazily leaned against a tree branch and asked with a smile that was not a smile. Sai Qiong respectfully replied, I'll leave it to Miss Yun to decide. Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin. The seventh prince of the Long Yuan nation is not bad. Even though he's still young, his mind is mature enough. He's also the only one who has chosen to protect himself during this chaotic period of time. The seventh prince of the Long Yuan nation's mother had died young and he did not have a deep relationship with Gao2. He was a dispensable existence. Chapter 330. However, he had an extremely powerful talent at a young age. However, due to his lowly background, Gao2 had never looked him in the eye. Since Miss Yun has spoken, then the seventh prince will be the emperor of the Long Yuan kingdom. Sai Qiong smiled flatteringly. Miss Yun, do you have any other instructions? Go with Qingyang. She will tell you what to do, Yun Luofeng said after pondering for a long time. Yes. Sai Qiong cupped his fists, his face full of respect. Looking at the figure leaving with Qingyang, Yun Luofeng was silent. After a long time, she stared at the man in front of her and asked, the spirit sect is the power behind the Long Yuan kingdom, and the Bai family is the power behind the Liujin kingdom. I wonder if the Bai family and the spirit sect have the same strength. The Bai family and the spirit sect are different. Even 100 spirit sects can't compare with the Bai family. Why? Suddenly, a handsome and bewitching face appeared in Yun Luofeng's mind, and her heart gradually sank. The Bai family has Bai Su. Yun Xiao frowned, his cold eyes containing an unprecedented solemnity. Without Bai Su, the Bai family and the spirit sect won't have a big difference in strength. Bai Su. Yun Luofeng's eyes slightly narrowed. He seems to be related to my parents' death, but I don't know where he came from. Originally, she thought that the Bai family and the spirit sect wouldn't have a big difference in strength, but she didn't expect that she thought too simply. It was easy to deal with the spirit sect, but it wouldn't be so easy to deal with the Bai family. Next time, if you meet Bai Su again and I'm not by your side, don't fight with him. The man's cold eyes revealed a touch of imperceptible concern, and his expressionless face also carried a slight trace of nervousness. That man was too dangerous. If Yun Luofeng fought with him alone, she would definitely be at a disadvantage. I understand. Yun Luofeng slowly raised her head and met the man's cold eyes. I won't fight with him alone. Yun Xiao gazed deeply at Yun Luofeng. I let Sai Qiong come to your side because his strength is not bad. When I'm not here, he can temporarily protect you. When you don't need him, he can be at your disposal. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng raised her arms, took 2 steps forward, and tightly hugged the man's body. Thank you. The girl's soft murmur caused Yun Xiao's body to slightly stiffen. He raised his hand and tightly rubbed her body. As she lowered her eyes, the corners of her bewitching red lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. I told you, I will protect you. Since he had chosen to protect her, he would not let her get hurt. Whether it was the Bai family or others. Cough, cough. Suddenly, a dry cough sounded from the side. Yun Luofeng hurriedly left Yun Xiao's arms and glanced at the old man who stepped into the courtyard. Grandpa, you seem to be in the mood for leisure. You actually came here to disturb your granddaughter's training of a man? She raised her eyebrows slightly and looked at the old man's awkward face with a faint smile. Stinky girl, I just returned to the Yun family and heard that you've hired a new handyman. The old man was not ashamed of his actions at all. He said in a bad mood, our Yun family already has enough people. Do you know how much money it costs to raise so many people? You really don't know the cost of firewood. Do you think I just picked up money from the ground? It seems that I earned all the money in the Yun family. Yun Luofeng shrugged and replied. Yun Luofeng glared at Yun Luofeng. What do you mean you earned it? What's yours is mine. All the money belongs to me. By the way, how much did you pay the handyman? Free. Yun Luofeng gently rubbed her nose. Oh, by the way, this handyman is the master of the spirit sect. Chapter 331. Initially, when he heard the word free, the old man heaved a sigh of relief. However, Yun Luofeng's next words caused him to freeze in place. What did you just say? The old man stared blankly at Yun Luofeng. At this moment, he suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. Did she just say that the errand boy was the sect master of the spirit sect? Wasn't that the spirit sect that he was familiar with? Yun Luofeng looked at the old man's astonished expression and shrugged his shoulders. It's exactly what you think. The young girl's disapproving voice struck the old man's heart like a heavy stick, knocking him into a daze. This. The old man hesitated for a moment before saying, the sect master of the spirit sect came to the Yun family to do odd jobs, it wouldn't be right not to pay him. How about this? I'm not a stingy person, I still have to pay him what he should be paid. Housekeeper, record down the accounts and give the new errand boy a copper a month. The old man's expression was deadly earnest, causing the housekeeper, who was quietly waiting at the side, to grumble. A copper? Was he trying to dismiss a beggar? To think that the great general would say something like this. I don't think that's necessary. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of his lips and looked at the old man's pained expression. He smiled evilly and said, even if you ask him to pay for it, he'd still be willing. If you give him a salary, he'll feel uneasy instead. The old man nodded in agreement. Since that's the case, I'll keep this copper, I can at least buy a spring onion. All right, you two have fun, I won't disturb you any longer. Housekeeper, hurry and support this general, my legs are a little weak. Yes, great general. The housekeeper stepped forward and supported the old man as they slowly walked out of the courtyard. At this moment, the old man was clearly still in a state of shock. Hence, his legs were a little weak, and if it wasn't for the housekeeper supporting him, he might have collapsed at any moment. Don't be fooled by his serious expression just now, he had long been frightened by Yun Luofeng's words. No one would have thought that the dignified sect master of the spirit sect would actually come to the Yun family to do odd jobs. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng watched as Master Dongfang's figure disappeared before his dark eyes slowly swept towards Yun Xiao. You still haven't told me where you've been these past 2 days. Yun Xiao paused and said, I just received news that the Xiao family has arrived in Longyuan Nation. So, I went to investigate this matter. Don't worry, I won't let these people disturb you. If the Xiao family disturbed her, he did not mind destroying the entire Xiao family. Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow as a cold light flashed across his eyes. Since the Xiao family has found their way here, why don't we find a suitable time to meet them? I also want to know why they are looking for you. Yun Xiao gently pursed his thin lips, his dark eyes staring deeply at Yun Luofeng. If you want to see them, I'm willing to accompany you. If you don't like them, then I'll destroy them. Yun Luofeng shook his head. Yun Xiao, do you want to see your mother? Mother? These 2 words were already very foreign to Yun Xiao. However, his mother was also the only person in the Xiao family who cared about him. Unfortunately, his mother had no position in the Xiao family and was unable to protect him when he was young. She's not in the Xiao family. Yun Xiao's eyes were as cold as water. Ever since I was chased out of the Xiao family, she disappeared as well. No one knows where she went. Ever since he had left the forest of no return, it wasn't that he hadn't secretly gone back to look for her. However, the news he heard was that she had already disappeared a few years ago, and even the Xiao family did not know where she was. Chapter 332. Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment, his black eyes flashing with an unknown light. Your mother disappeared after you left the Xiao family. Only by going to the Xiao family can we find out where she is. Most importantly, I want those who have hurt you to pay a painful price. The young girl's determined voice warmed Yun Xiao's heart. The corners of his cold lips curled up into a shallow arc. All right. Yun Luofeng did not say anything more as her lowered eyes flashed with a murderous glint. Now, every time she thought of the torture that Yun Xiao had suffered, she could not help but want to tear the person who had hurt him into 10,000 pieces. Especially the woman who had thrown him into the forest of no return. Yun Xiao, when will the people from the Xiao family arrive? Yun Luofeng laughed coldly. When they arrive, I will entertain them well. Probably in the next few days. Yun Xiao's eyes were deep and cold. Furthermore, the Xiao family's influence is vast. so they already know that I'm in the imperial city of Long Yuan country. They just don't know that I'm in the general's mansion. Yun Luofeng was stunned and asked, "You left the Xiao family when you were 7, how did they know that you were here?" When the man heard this, his cold aura suddenly erupted. His black robes fluttered in the wind, like a wild beast in the night, ready to tear his enemies to pieces at any time. The Xiao family can find me through my bloodline. For a large family like the Xiao family, the depth of one's bloodline was very important. Furthermore, they could determine the location of the person they were looking for. However, using their bloodline to find a person, they could only find the general direction and not the exact location. That was why the Xiao family had taken so long to find Long Yuan country. "Yun Xiao, leave this matter to me." Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a sinister smile. "I will make them regret ever coming to Long Yuan country." All right. Yun Xiao did not have much feelings for the Xiao family. Since Yun Luofeng wanted to play with them, why not indulge him? Once she was done playing, he would come out and clean up the mess for her. Yun Luofeng raised his eyes slightly and looked at the cold man standing in front of him. "Yun Xiao, do you hate the Xiao family?" "Hate?" Yun Xiao frowned slightly as a cold glint flashed across her eyes. More than 10 years ago, he was chased out of the Xiao family and thrown into the forest of no return. He indeed hated those people, because at that time, he still cared about the Xiao clan. Because of this, he hated the Xiao family for being heartless and hated that woman for taking away his mother's position. However, he no longer had any feelings for the Xiao clan. He was glad that he had left the Xiao family more than 10 years ago. Otherwise, he wouldn't have achieved what he had today. As for his mother, leaving the Xiao family might be a relief for her. "I don't." Yun Xiao's eyes were filled with seriousness. "If I had not left the Xiao family back then, I would not have the power I have now, nor would I have the power to protect you." Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a small smile. He slowly stepped forward and hugged the man in front of him tightly. He lowered his eyes and said, "I hate the Xiao family, I hate everyone who has hurt you, so I won't let them get away with it." Chapter 333. Yun Xiao remained silent as his dark eyes stared at the young girl in his arms. He does not hate the Xiao family, but that does not mean he will let the Xiao family off. It was just that in his eyes, the Xiao clan was just a dispensable existence. "Master." Just then, Qin Yuan's voice rang out. He then leaped over the wall and knelt in front of Yun Xiao, reporting to Master, "The Xiao family has entered the imperial city." Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's expression sank. The smile on his lips was demonic and eerie as he replied in a cold voice, "The Xiao family? I never thought that they would arrive so soon. Yi Ling, pass down the order. All the inns in the imperial city are not allowed to accept anyone from the Xiao family. Anyone who disobeys will be expelled from Long Yuan country." "Yes." Yi Ling joined her fists and replied respectfully. Yun Xiao looked at the arrogant and domineering young girl in front of him. The corners of his grim lips twitched. "The Xiao family is very powerful. I'll ask Qin Yuan to protect you." "No need." Yun Luofeng curled the corners of his lips. "I know what I'm doing." "Up to you then." As long as she was happy, no matter what she did, he would support her unconditionally. Qin Yuan opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something. However, when he saw Yun Xiao's grim glare, he immediately shut his mouth. "Qing Yang, let's go." Yun Luofeng stretched lazily and narrowed his eyes as a dangerous light flashed in them. "I'm going to recuperate and build up my strength so that I can deal with the Xiao family." The brilliant rays of the sun shone into every corner of the courtyard. After Yun Luofeng had spoken, he led Qing Yang towards the direction of the rear courtyard. Once the young girl's figure had completely disappeared, Qin Yuan turned to face Yun Xiao and asked hesitantly, "Master, why didn't you tell Mistress that the Xiao family has that thing in their hands?" If the Xiao family were to fly into a rage out of humiliation, Master's life would be in danger. Yun Xiao's gaze was fixed on the direction in which Yun Luofeng had left. His gently pursed lips formed a cold and hard angle. His handsome face was expressionless as if he had facial paralysis. "The Xiao family cannot threaten me." What he meant was that no matter what Yun Luofeng did, he would not stop him. He would only silently support her from behind. Is there any news of her? Yun Xiao asked coldly with her back facing Qin Yuan. The she he spoke of was naturally his mother, who had also disappeared after he left. Upon hearing this, Qin Yuan carefully replied, "Master, our men have searched many places, but we still haven't found Madam's whereabouts." Yes. Yun Xiao's voice was low and hoarse, revealing a hint of coldness, causing Qin Yuan's heart to involuntarily rise as cold sweat broke out on his forehead. "Master, it's your subordinate's fault. Master, please punish me." He hurriedly knelt on the ground and asked in fear. "You will stay by Feng's side from now on." Yun Xiao's grim eyes swept across Qin Yuan's body. "If she suffers even the slightest injury, bring your head to me." He did not dare to imagine what would have been waiting for Yun Luofeng if the Ning family had not rushed over 2 days ago. And he would never allow such a thing to happen again. If something really happened to Yun Luofeng, he couldn't guarantee that he would do something crazy. "Yes, Master." Qin Yuan wiped the sweat off his forehead and said respectfully. On a bustling street, a young man and woman were leading a group of people into an inn. Not long after, the sounds of an argument could be heard from within the inn. Chapter 334. What right do you have to stop us from staying? Inside the inn, the young girl stood with her hands on her hips, glaring angrily at the inn owner in front of her. "I'm sorry, dear customers, but our shop is full and we really can't accommodate the two of you. Why don't the two of you stay in the stable?" The young girl was so angry that her face turned red. This damned inn owner, how dare he let someone as noble as her stay in the stable? Someone as noble as her had to stay in the most luxurious room. No other place was worthy of her status. "Nonsense, I saw someone checking in just now. Why can't we stay?" He. The innkeeper laughed twice and politely refused. "That person just now happened to be in the last room. You two came late, so I can only let you make do with it. Why don't you find another inn?" The young girl narrowed her eyes, a strong killing intent flashing in her eyes. She was about to make a move but was stopped by the man beside her. "Forget it," the man shook his head. "Yaroa, let's look for another inn. This isn't the only inn in Long Yuan country." But Ling Yarrow was still unwilling to give up. She stomped her foot angrily. "These secular people really don't know any better. For someone as noble as me to come here, they should immediately clear everyone out and let us choose the best room. I didn't think that he would chase us away." In her entire life, Ling Yarrow had never been so humiliated. In the spirit realm, as the little princess of the Ling family, who wouldn't give in to her? Who would have thought that in this secular world, these people would not give her face? How could she tolerate this? Forget it. Xiao Jing tugged on Ling Yarrow's sleeve and shook his head. "Don't forget, we're here on a mission. It's better not to cause trouble. Besides, this is not the only inn here. We can find another inn to stay in." After saying this, Xiao Jing pulled the still angry Ling Yarrow out. However, what they did not expect was that all the inns in the imperial city were full. There was not a single one that could accommodate them. Ling Yarrow was completely enraged. She gritted her teeth. What kind of broken place is this? If not for the fact that the Xiao family is looking for that trash, I would definitely not come to such a broken place. Ling Yarrow, who was used to enjoying preferential treatment in the family, had never encountered such a thing. It was no wonder that she was so furious. "Yarrow," Xiao Jing's calm face revealed a pensive look. "This is too much of a coincidence. There isn't anything important happening in Long Yuan country, so why are all the inns full? I suspect that someone is behind all of this." Ling Yarrow snorted. Her pretty face was filled with disdain. Who would be so bold as to make an enemy out of spirit realm? That trash from your Xiao clan? How could that trash have such great strength? Furthermore, our trip to Long Yuan Nation has been kept a secret. That trash would never know about it. When talking about Yun Xiao, Ling Yarrow's face was full of disdain. Although 10 years ago, that trash already had a perfect face. But trash was trash. Normally, she wouldn't even spare a glance at a piece of trash who couldn't cultivate and had no strength. What she worshipped were men who were not only handsome but also powerful. Only men like that could match up to her noble status. Chapter 335. Ling Yaro. This time, apart from finding that good-for-nothing, we're also here to break off the engagement with him. Xiao Jing frowned slightly and ordered in a low voice. Hearing this, Ling Yaro couldn't help but get angry. I really don't know what my grandfather was doing. He actually made me marry that good-for-nothing. Moreover, I didn't know about it all these years. If it wasn't for the fact that Xiao Yuqing had returned this time and wanted me to marry him, he wouldn't have told me about this. Families like the Ling and Xiao families were very particular about their agreement. If she wanted to marry Xiao Yuqing, she would have to break off the engagement. Hence, when she heard that the Xiao family was looking for that good-for-nothing, she volunteered to follow them. That good-for-nothing probably doesn't know about this either. Xiao Jing's brows furrowed even tighter. It doesn't matter if he agrees or not, you must break off the engagement. Back then, because Yun Xiao's parents were 1 in a million geniuses, the Ling family's master had suggested for the two of them to be engaged at a young age. However, this matter was only known to the elders of the two families. Who would have thought that Yun Xiao was actually a good-for-nothing? Hence, this matter had been delayed. If the Ling family hadn't planned on using Ling Yaro to form a marriage alliance with Xiao Yuqing, they wouldn't have revealed this matter. It's best if he doesn't know about it, Ling Yaro scoffed. If he knew that we were engaged at a young age, he would definitely pester me. Otherwise, which woman would want to marry a good-for-nothing like him? That's not necessarily true. He's had outstanding looks since he was young. With his looks, it shouldn't be a problem for him to become a live-in son-in-law. Xiao Jing recalled that face in his mind. The corners of his lips curled into a slight smile. His eyes were filled with disdain. Ling Yaro curled her lips mockingly. A woman who can fancy that good-for-nothing probably isn't a good person. If she's not a good-for-nothing like him, then she's a lecher. How good can a lecher like him be? What she meant was that Yun Xiao couldn't possibly find a woman better than her. Unfortunately, that kind of good-for-nothing wasn't good enough for her. Alright, let's not talk about that good-for-nothing for now. The most important thing now is to solve the problem of our accommodation. Only after we've settled down can we search for that good-for-nothing's whereabouts. Xiao Jing looked at Ling Yaro and said slowly. But the inns here are all full, where are we going to find a place to stay? Ling Yao pouted, her face full of unwillingness. Xiao Jing pondered for a moment and a light flashed in his eyes. He quickly walked to the front of a house and knocked on the door 3 times. Creak. The door was pushed open and a middle-aged man walked out angrily. He asked angrily, "Who are you? What are you here for?" "I want to buy your house." Xiao Jing smiled faintly. "Go away." The middle-aged man waved his hand impatiently. "I'm not selling this house. Don't come here and make trouble." 10 million. Xiao Jing's lips still had a calm and confident smile. Sure enough, hearing his words, the middle-aged man's eyes lit up, and he swallowed hard. "Are you really willing to buy my house for 10 million taels of silver?" He obviously didn't believe that there would be anyone in this world who would be so stupid as to spend 10 million taels of silver to buy a house. Xiao Jing didn't say anything else. He pulled out a banknote from his sleeve and handed it to the middle-aged man. "Here's 10 million taels of silver. Everything in your house belongs to me. You can leave now." Chapter 336. The middle-aged man hurriedly snatched the banknote and examined its authenticity. After confirming that the banknote was real, he quickly stuffed it into his sleeves and hurriedly left without even packing his belongings. Xiao Jing glanced disdainfully at the middle-aged man's hurriedly leaving figure. He slowly retracted his gaze and looked at Ling Yaro. "This way, we have a place to stay. Next, we need to find the whereabouts of that trash." Ling Yaro frowned. "But we haven't seen that trash for more than a decade. Even if he appears in front of us, we might not be able to recognize him." "Don't worry." Xiao Jing smiled mysteriously. "I have something in my hand. As long as I have this thing, I will recognize him the moment he appears in front of me." Hearing this, Ling Yaro sighed in relief. "That's good. For Yuqing and my happiness, I must find that trash as soon as possible and break off the engagement with him. Only the number 1 genius of the Xiao family, Yuqing, is worthy of me." Xiao Yuqing, the #1 genius of the Xiao family. He was the dream of countless women in spirit realm. She was one of those people. If that trash knew his place, he would not pester her. Instead, he would agree to her breaking off the engagement. Don't worry. Xiao Jing patted Ling Yaro's shoulder comfortingly. Even if he starts pestering you after seeing you, the Xiao family has a way to make him give up on you. The marriage between the Xiao and Ling families is inevitable. However, your marriage partner is not that trash. I hope so. Whenever she thought of that trash, a hint of disgust flashed across Ling Yaro's eyes. If it wasn't for breaking off the engagement, she would never want to see that trash in her life. Let's go in and rest first. Xiao Jing narrowed his eyes. As for that trash, I will find him soon. Inside the general's residence. In the back garden, a young girl sat under a peach blossom tree with her eyes closed. Faint spirit energy surrounded her body and was absorbed into her body through the opening and closing of her pores. Suddenly, the young girl heard the sound of footsteps approaching. She opened her eyes slightly and her black pupils turned towards the little servant girl who was walking into the rear courtyard. How is it? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and asked. Miss, Qing Yang wrinkled her delicate brows, I've already given the order. All the inns don't dare to accept those two people. However, that man from the Xiao clan took out a silver note and bought a courtyard. I understand. Yun Luofeng's black eyes shone with a profound light, making it impossible to tell what she was thinking. A long while later, the corners of her lips curled into an arc. Her slightly narrowed eyes contained a dangerous glint. It's also time for me to meet these two people from the Xiao clan. Qing Yang blinked her eyes. Miss, are you going to make a move on the Xiao family? On what grounds? Reason? Yun Luofeng laughed lightly. Don't forget, I'm the #1 hedonistic son of Long Yuan country. Why would I need a reason to beat someone up? He just didn't like them. Qing Yang, gather everyone in the army. We're going to do something big. She, Yun Luofeng, had never needed to find a reason. She just didn't like these people. Who would be able to do anything to her? Qing Yang's eyes shone. Her miss was simply too domineering. It looked like she still had a lot to learn from her miss, especially her shameless spirit. Chapter 337. Inside the house. Ling Yaro's brows were tightly furrowed as she looked at the entire house with disdain. This house is too shabby, it cannot compare to my Ling family. Look, there are ants on the ground, it's disgusting. Ling Yaro lifted her foot and crushed the ants. Then she took off her shoes and took out a handkerchief to wipe the soles of her feet as though the ants she had crushed were disgusting things. Yaro, I observed for a long time when I was looking for an inn. This is the best house in the vicinity. Just make do with it. How can the things of the mortal world compare to spirit realm? Xiao Jing shook his head helplessly. Ling Yaro was the little princess of the Ling family. She had been pampered since she was young and had never suffered any grievances. She wore silk and satin and ate delicacies. With her delicate personality, she should not have come to this kind of place with him. Ling Yaro opened her mouth to say something, but at this time, a wave of uniform footsteps came from outside. Then, a group of people flooded in and surrounded the entire yard. Who are you? Xiao Jing frowned and looked coldly at the crowd that had flooded into the yard. He asked gravely. Immediately, the crowd surrounding the yard spread to the sides and revealed a path in the middle. Then, a beautiful girl dressed in a long white dress slowly walked out from the crowd. The young girl was extremely beautiful. Her hair was like a waterfall, her skin was as white as jade, and the smile on her lips was demonic and lazy. Her pitch-black eyes were as bright as the stars in the night sky, and her delicate brows contained an insolent and domineering aura. Even Xiao Jing, who had seen countless beauties, couldn't help but be stunned. But his shock only lasted for a moment as he looked seriously at the girl. This woman was very dangerous. Like a fox hiding in the darkness, she looked calm on the surface, but in reality, she would jump out and stab you when you were not paying attention. Even the experts of Spirit Realm did not give him such a feeling of danger. Who allowed you to enter my territory? Also, what are you doing here? Before Yun Luofeng could answer Xiao Jing, Ling Yaro immediately jumped out and glared angrily at Yun Luofeng and the others. Facing the furious Ling Yaro, Yun Luofeng's thin lips parted slightly. "We're here to beat you up." Ling Yaro didn't think that Yun Luofeng would beat someone up without saying a word. Her pretty face immediately changed. She was just about to pull out the long sword at her waist when a hand reached out to stop her. "Miss," Xiao Jing frowned, "I don't know how I have offended you, causing you to want to attack me." "You didn't offend me. But you offended my man." Yun Luofeng did not say this last sentence. She crossed her arms in front of her chest, her posture lazy, and her pitch-black eyes filled with laughter. But under her smile, there was a hidden danger. Xiao Jing's heart sank. "Since I didn't offend you, you should at least give me a reason if you want to attack me." Yun Luofeng glanced at Xiao Jing. Her voice was as lazy as ever, but it easily provoked the anger of others. "Apologies, I don't need a reason to hit people." She paused, her laughter growing. "If I need a reason, then it is. I don't like you." Ling Yaro almost went mad with anger. She had never seen a woman who treated rudeness so naturally. She immediately glared fiercely at Yun Luofeng. "Damned girl, you want to teach me a lesson with trash like you? You!" Chapter 338. Slap. A fierce slap landed on Ling Yaro's face, causing her to be dumbfounded. She stopped speaking before she could finish her sentence. She stared in astonishment at the beautiful girl who had appeared in front of her. Her eyes were filled with shock. Because, in that moment, she did not even see Yun Luofeng's movements. His figure had suddenly disappeared. Like a light breeze, he quickly appeared in front of her. How fast did he have to be to reach such a level? "Yaro Xiao Jing's heart tightened and he hurriedly walked to Ling Yaro's side. He frowned and asked with concern, "How are you? Are you all right?" Xiao Jing's voice finally brought Ling Yaro back to her senses. She realized that she had actually been beaten by someone, and her entire body emitted a blazing fury. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws as she charged at Yun Luofeng, her expression a crazed one. "Bitch, how dare you hit me? I'm going to kill you. No one has ever dared to hit me since I was young. If I don't kill you, my name isn't Ling Yaro." Her eyes were red like a man-eating beast. Her sharp claws pointed towards Yun Luofeng's face, her eyes filled with madness. However, she had just rushed in front of Yun Luofeng when Yun Luofeng's hand grabbed her arm and ruthlessly threw her to the ground. With a bang, Ling Yaro's head hit the ground with a dull thud. When had Ling Yaro ever suffered such injustice? She was in so much pain that tears flowed from her eyes. Before she could stand up, Yun Luofeng's foot had already stepped on her chest. Ling Yaro screamed in pain with this kick. Her red eyes were filled with murderous intent. "Bitch, if you dare to attack me, the Ling family will not forgive you." Yun Luofeng gently raised his eyebrows and exerted force with his right foot. Ling Yaro immediately screamed in pain. She was in so much pain that she broke out in cold sweat. She could not even speak. "Stop." Xiao Jing finally walked out of his shock. With a calm expression, he said, "Miss, leave a way out. Don't go overboard. Spirit realm is not to be trifled with." Originally, Xiao Jing had thought that Yun Luofeng would be afraid when he mentioned spirit realm. Unfortunately, things didn't go as he wished. After hearing these two words, the girl didn't have any reaction, as if she didn't hear what he said. Xiao Jing's eyes darkened. "All of you, attack." He waved his hand and coldly ordered. "Yes, young master." Hearing this, the members of the Xiao family behind Xiao Jing quickly rushed towards Yun Luofeng. Just as they were about to reach Yun Luofeng, the members of the army suddenly stepped forward, blocking in front of Yun Luofeng like gods of war. Boom! A powerful aura covered the sky and earth, engulfing the entire courtyard. After sensing the aura of these people, Xiao Jing's expression changed drastically and his gaze became even more solemn. High spiritualist. There were 10 high spiritualists here. Since when did high spiritualists in Long Yuan country become so common? How can there be so many of them? Although the Xiao family had more high spiritualists, and they even had more than 10 celestial spiritualists, 10 high spiritualists was still a significant presence in Long Yuan country. After all, Based on his understanding of Long Yuan country, there were only 2 high spiritualists in this country. As for him, his talent was not bad among the Xiao family's disciples. He had even reached the intermediate high spiritualist rank a few months ago. However, there were too many people in front of him. If he wanted to deal with them, it would be difficult for him. Xiao Jing's eyes flickered a few times, and he said in a low voice, "Miss, there are many celestial spiritualists in our Xiao family. The Ling family is not bad either. If you insist on doing this, you will definitely bring trouble to yourself." Chapter 339. Facing Xiao Jing's threat, Yun Luofeng responded with her actions. Slap. Her hand slapped Ling Yaro's face again. In an instant, both sides of Ling Yaro's face swelled up like a pig's head. She was in so much pain that she couldn't say a word. Her red eyes were filled with angry tears as she stared at Yun Luofeng. If looks could kill, Yun Luofeng would have been hacked into pieces by her. Even with Xiao Jing's calm temperament, he was enraged by Yun Luofeng. His face was terrifyingly cold. "Since you insist on acting rashly, don't blame me for being impolite." Xiao Jing clenched his fists and charged towards Yun Luofeng. A murderous glint flashed in his eyes. Boom. Suddenly, the young girl in front of him raised her eyes and glanced at him with a demonic light in her eyes. In that instant, a powerful force surged into his mind, causing his mind to instantly go blank. Bang! Yun Luofeng lifted his leg and kicked Xiao Jing's chest. Xiao Jing's body flew out and hit the wall. His body seemed to have suffered heavy injuries. He kept spitting out blood, and he couldn't stop it no matter how hard he tried. Beat him up. Yun Luofeng glanced at Xiao Jing, who was lying on the ground, and smirked. Just don't kill him. These 2 people can't die so quickly. Yes, master. Hearing this, everyone in the army rubbed their palms and smiled evilly as they walked towards Xiao Jing, who was lying on the ground. Don't come over." Xiao Jing's face was full of fear, and his whole body was trembling. If it had been at the beginning, he would have been fearless against the army. After all, the strongest among them was only a low-level high spiritualist. However, Yun Luofeng's kick had caused him to suffer 10,000 points of damage. He couldn't even get up, let alone fight these people. The Xiao family saw that the situation was bad and wanted to save Xiao Jing. However, before they could reach Xiao Jing, they were stopped by the army. What followed was a one-sided trampling. Xiao Jing was too confident. He thought that there were no strong people in Long Yuan country, so he didn't bring any strong guards. The strongest people he brought were only low-level high spiritualists. This caused the Xiao family guards to be unable to fight back. Poochie. In the army, a person punched Xiao Jing in the face, causing his teeth to fall out. His right cheek swelled up like a steamed bun, and blood continued to flow from his mouth. Yun Luofeng no longer looked at the situation on Xiao Jing's side. Instead, he turned his gaze to the girl in front of him. He raised his eyebrows slightly and smiled devilishly. "You can choose a masochistic method." Ling Yaro's face was full of fear, and she shook her head firmly. "No, I'm from the Ling family." Bang! The young girl's fist abruptly landed on Ling Yaro's body, stopping her from saying anything. Ling Yaro spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood at the corner of her mouth stained her clothes red. She glared angrily at Yun Luofeng. At this moment, her body was trembling uncontrollably. The rage in her heart had almost swallowed her whole. This slut, she would never let her off. Poochie. Yun Luofeng's fist landed once again. At that moment, Ling Yaro's body shook violently. She gently closed her eyes, and her pretty face turned pale. With every punch, Yun Luofeng's anger subsided a little. Every time she thought of the torture that Yun Xiao had suffered all these years, her heart would fill with hatred. Chapter 340. The Xiao Family. Sooner or later, I will destroy the Xiao family and avenge Yun Xiao. But now is not the time. Yun Luofeng took a deep breath and suppressed the raging flames in her heart. Then, she turned to look at Ling Yaro, who had been beaten to the point where she no longer looked like a human. Xiao Jing wasn't much better off. His clothes had been torn to shreds. His skin was bruised and there wasn't a single part of him that wasn't injured. His body trembled uncontrollably, but he didn't even have the strength to resist. In order to avoid being beaten up again, he hid the hatred in his heart. His deep eyes were like a deep spring, unable to see the bottom. "Take it." Yun Luofeng took out a black pill from somewhere and ordered coldly. Ling Yaro's eyes showed a sense of terror. She shook her head firmly and sobbed. Yun Luofeng laughed evilly. Her fingers grabbed Yun Yaro's chin and forced her mouth open. Then, she forced the pill in. "Qingyang, make everyone in the Xiao family take this pill." Yun Luofeng took out another pill and her lips curled into an evil smile. "After you take this pill, your lives will be in my hands from now on. If anyone dares to breathe a word about what happened today, I will make you suffer the pain of being bitten by 10,000 bug." Before she had come, Yun Luofeng had told Yun Xiao that she knew what she was doing. Based on her current level of power, it would be difficult for her to go up against a powerful force like the Xiao family. That was why she had prepared these pills. Her goal was to control these people. After all, she wasn't the kind of person who would place herself in danger just to vent her anger. She cherished her life. Only when there was no danger would she have no qualms. Xiao Jing lowered his eyes. He didn't resist like Ling Yaro and swallowed the pill obediently. This was because he understood that he was now a fish on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. If he resisted, what awaited him would be an even harsher punishment. Therefore, he might as well obediently swallow the pill to avoid the torture. When the rest of the Xiao family saw that Xiao Jing had swallowed the pill, they could only reluctantly swallow it. Their expressions were very ugly, and some of them were rolling on the ground in pain. "Who the hell are you?" Xiao Jing used all his strength to support his body. He crawled up from the ground and looked at Yun Luofeng with a grave expression. The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled up as he looked at Xiao Jing with his evil eyes. "The #1 hedonistic young master of Long Yuan Nation, that's me. Everyone knows that I don't need a reason to beat people up. As long as I don't like them, I'll beat them up." At this moment, Xiao Jing's face was already swollen like a pig's head, so his expression couldn't be seen clearly. However, from his eyes, it could be seen that he didn't believe Yun Luofeng's words. Yun Luofeng stretched his body and said lazily, "I hope that you guys can stay in Long Yuan Nation for a few more days. Because I've never beaten someone up as much as I did today." Ling Yaro's body trembled violently. This time, she was smarter and bit her lip, not saying a word. "Let's go." After saying this, Yun Luofeng walked out of the courtyard. At that moment, everyone in the army also started walking and followed closely behind the young girl. "Xiao Jing, are we just going to swallow this? I can't accept this." Ling Yaro opened her mouth with much difficulty, but as she spoke, she accidentally pulled the wound on her face. It was so painful that she drew in a breath of cold air. Chapter 341. Xiao Jing wasn't any better. His originally handsome face was now swollen like a pig's head. His clothes were ragged and there wasn't a single part of his body that was unharmed. His eyes became darker and darker, so much so that Ling Yaro's heart suddenly trembled. "Xiao Jing." Ling Yaro swallowed her saliva and opened her mouth to say something, but she was interrupted by the man's cold gaze. "If you don't swallow this, what else do you want to do? Don't forget the pills we just swallowed. If we don't endure it, who knows what will happen?" Xiao Jing was a little annoyed. He still didn't know how he had offended that crazy woman to the point that she would act so ruthlessly against him. After saying this, he was silent for a while and said with a frown, "Let's go back to the Xiao clan first." Ling Yaro was still very unwilling. Her eyes were spitting fire. "We came here to find that trash. If we go back now, what will happen to that trash? When your grandfather told you to come with me, he told you to listen to me. If you don't want to go back, that's fine. I'll go by myself, and you can stay here alone. Don't forget what that crazy woman just said. She wants us to stay here for a few more days so that she can beat us up for a few more days." Xiao Jing gnashed his teeth in hatred, but there was nothing he could do. Who told him to be no match for her? The most important thing right now was to hurry back to the Xiao family, in case that crazy woman came looking for him again. Ling Yaro stomped her foot fiercely. No matter how unwilling she was in her heart, she still followed Xiao Jing and quickly left the house. In the general's residence, when Yun Luofeng heard that Xiao Jing and Xiao Luofeng had left overnight, an evil smile appeared on his face. His pitch-black eyes were filled with schemes. Your Xiao family hurt Yun Xiao and you want to leave just like that. If I don't find something for you to do, I'm afraid you'll continue to target the Xiao family. Miss, what wicked idea do you have now? Qing Yang blinked her eyes and asked curiously. Yun Luofeng did not answer her question. He only curled the corners of his lips and said, Qing Yang, I'm going out for a while. Help me prepare a set of clothes and a bamboo hat. Qing Yang was very curious in her heart, but she didn't ask much. She knew that no matter what Miss did, it would be the right thing to do. The night was like water, quiet and seductive. Xiao Jing and Ling Yarrow led a group of people from the Xiao family and walked quickly in the dark. It was as if this was a land of wolves and tigers, and they wanted to leave as soon as possible. Unfortunately, because everyone was heavily injured, their journey was very slow. They had to stop and walk. Thus, after a few hours, they were still walking in the ancient forest outside the imperial city. Ling Yao, hold on. When we leave this place, we'll find a medical center to recuperate. Xiao Jing looked at the panting Ling Yarrow and said with a frown. If old man Ling hadn't asked him to take care of Ling Yarrow, he might have left this burden behind. But I really can't walk anymore. Ling Yarrow leaned against a tree and laid down. Her expression was very ugly. The wounds on her body had not faded yet. Her body was covered in bruises, and the blood on her clothes had already dried up, appearing to be a patch of brown. Ling Yao. Xiao Jing's frown deepened. If you don't want to meet that crazy woman again, you'd better stand up quickly. Who knows where that lunatic will jump out from? It was obvious that Xiao Jing's heart was filled with fear towards Yun Luofeng. Chapter 342. All right. Ling Yarrow gritted her teeth and stood up from the ground. Now, every time she thought of Yun Luofeng, she would go mad with hatred. She wanted nothing more than to rush over and tear that woman into a million pieces. However, she also understood that based on her own power, she would not be able to take revenge. Furthermore, ever since she had taken that pill, she could no longer use her family's power. Let's go. Xiao Jing turned away and slowly walked towards the forest in front of him. However, Ling Yarrow appeared to be absent-minded. She bit her lips and looked slightly pale. Her eyes were fixed on the tip of her feet and her gaze was unfocused. Thud. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of her and she was caught off guard. She crashed into it violently. At the same time, a powerful aura exploded from the other party's body and sent her flying. P2E. Ling Yarrow's body was already unable to bear the burden. Now that she had been hit by the other party, she spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, unable to get up. Ling Yao. Xiao Jing's expression changed greatly. He quickly rushed to Ling Yarrow's side and helped her up. His cold, gloomy eyes swept towards the uninvited guest who had appeared in the forest. A gentle breeze blew past, lifting the corners of her white robes. Her head was covered with a white bamboo hat, causing Xiao Jing to be unable to see whether the person in the white robes was a man or a woman. Who are you? Xiao Jing's eyes darkened as he asked coldly. Under the bamboo hat, the young girl's pitilessly beautiful face was curled into a small angle. Her pitch-black eyes were clear and bright. She had purposely lowered her voice, making her voice sound low and hoarse. It even carried a hint of mischievousness. She didn't look where she was walking and bumped into me, so I was only teaching her a lesson. Perhaps it was because she had purposely changed her voice, but her tone sounded exceptionally neutral. This allowed Xiao Jing to determine her gender. Ling Yarrow was indeed in the wrong. She shouldn't have looked where she was walking, but are you not at fault? You're so elusive that even we didn't notice when you had appeared. You're still blaming Ling Yarrow for bumping into you? The young girl's bamboo hat was slightly lifted in the gentle breeze, revealing only her thin lips. The smile on her thin lips carried a hint of mischievousness. Xiao Jing tried his best to open his eyes wide, but he still couldn't see the face under the bamboo hat. If I say that she bumped into me, then she bumped into me. The young girl's voice rang out again. I will punish anyone who bumps into me. Do you choose to gouge out your eyes or be ravaged by me? Yun Luofeng's last sentence was clearly directed at Ling Yao. She was like a hedonistic son of a rich family, and her words carried a roguish tone. Although you don't look good, your figure is not bad. I, your big brother, am interested in playing with you. TSK, I want to know what it feels like to strip you naked and whip your body. That's right. Little Mo, who was in the grimoire, could not help but roll his eyes when he heard his master's words. She didn't expect the owner to be so good at pretending to be a man. Even this kind of ruffian was vividly displayed, especially when she was teasing Ling Yao. If someone who didn't know better heard it, they would really think she was a hooligan. Young master, don't go too far. Xiao Jing's expression darkened. He must have had 8 lifetimes worth of bad luck. First, he had run into a crazy woman. Now, he had run into a ruffian. If he had not been severely injured, he would have sent the man before him to meet the king of hell. Chapter 343. Overboard. Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed with an evil light as she raised her brows at Xiao Jing. The Bai family has never known the meaning of overboard. This woman bumped into me and now she wants me to let her off. Dream on. In the beginning, Xiao Mo did not know what her master was trying to do. Now, she suddenly understood. A frame-up. This was a complete frame-up. Her master was afraid that the Xiao family would cause trouble for Yun Xiao again, so she had found something for them to do. The young master of the Xiao family and the eldest lady of the Ling family had been humiliated by the Bai family. How could they let the Bai family off so easily? That was why she had pretended to be a man of the Bai family in an attempt to incite a war between the two families. Who asked the Bai family to participate in the war in Flowing Gold Country? They had even helped the Empress kill her mother. You're from the Bai family? The Bai family of Flowing Gold Country? Xiao Jing's expression was ugly. He never thought that he would meet a member of the Bai family here. Yun Luofeng did not feel the slightest bit ashamed of her frame-up and replied matter-of-factly, "That's right, I'm from the Bai family. Bai Su is in charge of the Bai family. Why would we be afraid of you?" Even though Yun Luofeng did not know Bai Su's identity, she could tell from Yun Xiao's words that Bai Su was a special existence in the Bai family. That was why she had pushed the blame onto Bai Su. At this moment, a handsome and devilishly charming face appeared in her mind. His slightly narrowed eyes were filled with a dangerous light. "Bai Su. I'll settle the score with you sooner or later. I'll cause some trouble for the Bai family first." As for her, all she needed to do was stand by the side and watch the show. "All of you, stop him. Ling Yao, let's go." Xiao Jing ordered the Xiao family members in a low voice. He then grabbed Ling Yao and tried to leave. Trying to leave? Yun Luofeng smiled icily. She looked at the Xiao family guards who were charging towards them and a cold light flashed across her pitch-black eyes. Then, a long sword appeared in her hand, splatter. The young girl's body quickly passed through the crowd of Xiao family members. In the instant she passed, the guards who were originally aggressive all spat out a pillar of blood, and their bodies stiffened as they fell to the ground. Seeing that the situation was not good, Xiao Jing wanted to speed up his escape, but at this moment, a figure wearing a white bamboo hat had already landed in front of them. Whoosh! The young girl raised her long sword, and with a flash of sword light, Ling Yao's clothes were all cut into pieces, floating in the air. Ah! Ling Yao screamed and hurriedly covered her body. Her eyes were filled with shame, anger, and fear. Although there are many injuries on this body, it doesn't diminish my interest. Instead, it increases my interest. Yun Luofeng put away his long sword and took out a whip from somewhere. He slowly approached Ling Yao. Ling Yao looked at the approaching figure, and she kept retreating, her body trembling uncontrollably. Don't come any closer. Xiao Jing, save me, Pa. Yun Luofeng lashed out with his whip. In an instant, Ling Yao's flesh split open, and blood flowed out. Stop! Xiao Jing wanted to grab Yun Luofeng's whip, but before his hand could land, he was pushed away by a wave of spirit energy. His body fell backwards, and he fell into a pile of corpses. Xiao Jing clutched his chest and spat out blood. He regretted it, regretted not looking at the almanac before leaving, who knew that there were so many people in the world who did not care for their lives, and dared to attack people of spirit realm. Your identities? Yun Luofeng's gaze landed on Ling Yarrow, and he asked coldly. Chapter 344. Ling Yarrow's body shook. Facing this terrifying person, she did not dare to hide anything. She bit her lips and said, I am from the Ling family of spirit realm, he is from the Xiao family. Why did you come here? Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow slightly. With her previous identity, it was not convenient for her to ask about these things. Now that she was pretending to be from the Bai family, it was time to find out why they came here. Ling Yarrow was naked and shivered uncontrollably in this slightly cold air. The Xiao family came here to find the trash that was exiled from the family more than a decade ago. Trash? Yun Luofeng's gaze grew colder. She did not need to think to know that the trash Ling Yarrow spoke of was Yun Xiao. It seemed that the Xiao family did not know that the Ghost Emperor was Yun Xiao. Otherwise, they would not have treated him with such an attitude. You are not from the Xiao family. Yun Luofeng paused. Why did you come here? Hearing this, Ling Yarrow seemed to forget her fear. Disgust flashed through her eyes. That trash of the Xiao family was betrothed to me, but the one I love is the #1 genius of the Xiao family, Xiao Yuqing. I came here to break off the engagement with that trash. I also want the betrothal token. Betrothal token? What is that? Yun Luofeng's brow furrowed. It is a jade pendant with the word Ling carved on it. Ling Yarrow did not understand why Yun Luofeng was asking this, but she still answered in a trembling voice. My grandfather gave that jade pendant to his mother. When he left the Xiao family, his mother gave the token to him. My goal is to get that jade pendant back. That trash does not have the right to hold it. Whenever she thought that her family's jade pendant was in the hands of trash, her heart was filled with disgust. Pia. At this moment, the whip hit her body again, and she gasped in pain. I have told you everything you want to know, why do you still not let me go? She shouted angrily. Her entire body trembled, and her eyes were filled with grievance and anger. Of course, Ling Yarrow did not know that her words had completely provoked Yun Luofeng. Her Yun Xiao was so outstanding, how could she be humiliated by these people? Seeing their disgust, she could imagine the treatment Yun Xiao had suffered in the Yun family in the past. You pervert. Another whip lashed down. Ling Yarrow couldn't care less about her shyness. She let go of her hand that was covering her private parts and raised her arm to block the incoming braid. Hiss. The whip landed on her arm, causing a burning pain. Ling Yarrow was in so much pain that tears flowed out of her eyes. Her teary eyes were filled with resentment. I swear, when I go back, I will tell my grandfather about this and ask him to destroy the Bai clan. Ling Yarrow used all her strength to shout this last sentence. The rage in her heart caused her expression to be filled with malevolence. Her gaze was like a dagger dipped in poison as she glared fiercely at Yun Luofeng. Ha ha! Yun Luofeng laughed. Her tone was filled with arrogance. Other people are afraid of spirit realm, but the Bai family is not. If you have the ability, then have the people of spirit realm attack the Bai family. This sentence revealed the truest thoughts in her heart. When two tigers fight, one will definitely be injured. She just needed to watch the show. Just you wait. Ling Yarrow trembled in anger. I definitely won't let your Bai family off. Chapter 345. Seeing the result she wanted, Yun Luofeng stopped torturing Ling Yarrow. She slowly put away the whip in her hand and said with a cold smile, All right, then I will wait for you at the Bai family. With that, she laughed maniacally, turned around, and left in the direction she came from. After she left, Xiao Jing finally dragged his heavily injured body to Ling Yarrow's side. He took off his clothes and put them on her. Ling Yarrow, the Bai family is too arrogant. We should teach them a lesson. Ling Yarrow's gaze was vicious as she stared in the direction that Yun Luofeng had left. She gritted her teeth and said, I will return the humiliation that he gave me today 1,000 times over. So what if the Bai family had Bai Su? She would not easily forgive these people who bullied her. Xiao Jing, Ling Yarrow climbed up from the ground with difficulty, her eyes dark. I do not want others to know that my clothes were stripped. If this matter reached Xiao Yuqing's ears, based on that man's nature, he would never marry her again. All right. Xiao Jing thought for a moment and nodded slightly. The marriage between the Xiao family and the Ling family was a must. If this matter were to spread, the Xiao family's reputation would be damaged. Therefore, he would hide the matter of Ling Yarrow being stripped naked. Let's go. Looking at the corpses on the ground, Xiao Jing's eyes darkened. He supported Ling Yarrow, the murderous intent in his eyes growing. By family, you dare to provoke the Xiao family, I will not let you have it easy. These few days, the situation on the continent was very unstable. As the three great families of Spirit Realm, the Xiao family and the Ling family attacked the Flowing Gold nations by family for some reason. Even the Bai family did not know what happened. But Bai Su was not at the Bai family during this time. Therefore, the Bai family could not resist the combined attack of the two families. Yet, the two great families of Spirit Realm seemed to be wary of something and did not kill the Bai family. They only taught the Bai family a small lesson. As the instigator of this incident, he acted as if nothing had happened. Every day, he would either tease Yun Xiao, spend his time cultivating, or face Xiao Mo's incessant chatter. At this moment, in the rear courtyard of the general's residence, a man was quietly staring at the young girl lying on the chaise lounge. A strange light flowed through his black eyes. Were you the one behind the Xiao family and the Bai family? That's right, Yun Luofeng's lips curled up slightly. My mother's death is related to the Bai family, and the Xiao family hurt you. That's why I started this battle. A warm feeling flowed through Yun Xiao's heart. He knew that Yun Luofeng was doing all this to help him take revenge. On that day, he had also seen the Xiao family members leaving the Long Yuan nation in a sorry state. Yun Xiao, I have something to ask you. Yun Luofeng's eyes were solemn as he stared fixedly at the man standing next to her. What is your relationship with the Ling family? Yun Xiao looked at Yun Luofeng suspiciously. What relationship do I have with the Ling family? This question was asked by Yun Luofeng. Now, he was returning it to Yun Luofeng. Because he really did not know what relationship he had with the Ling family. Yun Luofeng's eyes were filled with evil. He leaned lazily on the chaise lounge and asked in a casual tone, I heard that Ling Yarrow of the Ling family is your fiancé? Yun Xiao frowned, shook his head and said, I don't know her. I'm also not sure about this matter. Did Ling Yarrow tell you personally? Chapter 346. Yun Luofeng raised his lips slightly. Not only did she tell me that you were betrothed to her since you were young, she also said that you have a token of love between the two of you. Is that true? Yun Xiao thought about it and shook his head. I'm not sure. The token of love you're talking about is a jade pendant with the word Ling engraved on it. Yun Xiao fell silent and his brows furrowed as if he was thinking about something. However, no matter how hard he thought, he could not think of what the jade pendant looked like. I don't have the jade pendant that she's talking about. When he left the Xiao family, he had nothing, so where did he get the jade pendant? Hence, he really did not have the thing that Yun Luofeng was talking about. Yun Luofeng glanced at Yun Xiao. When you left, did your mother give you anything? No. Yun Xiao's reply was very decisive, his black eyes filled with sincerity and seriousness. Believe me, she and I definitely did not have the kind of relationship you're talking about. Yun Luofeng naturally believed Yun Xiao's words, but Ling Yarrow did not look like she was lying. Hence, there was only one possibility. Yun Xiao's mother did not give him the jade pendant. It's fine. Yun Luofeng crossed his thighs and moved his sore shoulders. His voice rang out lazily, Yun Xiao, come and help me massage my shoulders. Yun Xiao gently pursed his thin lips and silently walked to Yun Luofeng's side. His hand landed on the girl's shoulder. From behind, he could see through the girl's clothes and see her fair, jade-like skin. Yun Xiao's heartbeat suddenly sped up, but his eyes could not move away from the girl's body. He continued to stare at him in a daze. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng saw that Yun Xiao did not move and turned to look at the man behind him. When she saw the man's invasive gaze, she slightly narrowed her eyes and the smile on her lips revealed a dangerous aura. Do you want to see? Yes. Yun Xiao was an honest man. Not only did his body not lie, even his mouth would not lie. He wanted to see her, so he honestly told her what he was thinking. The smile on the girl's face deepened. She stood up from the chaise longue and took a few steps towards the man. Then, "I'll strip naked for you to see, okay?" Boom. The girl's flirtatious words and seductive actions made the man's blood rush to his head, and an impulse instantly made his body react. Even though the two of them had been sharing the same bed these past few days, Yun Luofeng had never taken off her clothes in front of Yun Xiao. Even on the bed, she would still wear her underwear. It was no wonder that upon hearing her words, Yun Xiao's heart would be filled with a burning desire. Feeling the man's breathing quicken in an instant, Yun Luofeng couldn't help but laugh softly. "Yun Xiao, I'm just teasing you. If you want me to strip for you to see, then you'll have to wait until we've dealt with the Xiao family's matter." A murderous intent rose in Yun Luofeng's heart once again as he thought about the humiliation that the Xiao family had inflicted on Yun Xiao. His black eyes carried a thick, cold light. Xiao family. What happened before was only the beginning. In the future, she would make the Xiao family live in eternal regret. A life worse than death. Yun Xiao stared at the young girl's pitilessly beautiful features, and a deep thought flashed across his grim black eyes. His eyes remained as deep as the dark night, making it impossible for anyone to understand what this man was thinking in his heart. The next day, the sky had just brightened. After Yun Luofeng had finished washing up, she pushed open the door to her room. Suddenly, a grey figure was reflected in her eyes. Chapter 347. Mistress, you're awake? Qin Yuan laughed awkwardly. "About this, my master told me to wait for you here and leave you a message." For some reason, looking at Qin Yuan's expression, Yun Luofeng had a bad feeling. "Where's Yun Xiao?" She frowned and asked. Qin Yuan rubbed his hair. "Master went to Spirit Realm, he wants to return to the Xiao family." "Return to the Xiao family? Why?" Yun Luofeng stilled and asked with a frown. Qin Yuan's expression grew even more awkward. "Mistress, Master told me to tell you that he will destroy the Xiao family as soon as possible." "Then, mistress, do not forget to fulfill your promise." "What promise?" "Mistress, you said that after the Xiao family is destroyed, I will strip naked for Master to see." When he said this, Qin Yuan's face flushed red. He could not understand why such a cold and murderous master would say such shameless words. Especially when he went to a place like Spirit Realm to have Mistress strip naked. It seemed that Mistress was very important in Master's heart. This idiot. Yun Luofeng shook his head helplessly. He really believes whatever I say. He returned to the Xiao family just because of this. After the awkwardness, Qin Yuan seemed to remember, and a hint of anxiety appeared on his face. "Mistress, there are some things Master does not want me to say. But I think I should let Mistress know. This time, Master may be in danger when he returns to the Xiao family." Yun Luofeng's heart suddenly sank. What happened? With Yun Xiao's strength, he cannot deal with the Xiao family. "Mistress," Qin Yuan shook his head. "My master is very powerful, but the patriarch of the Xiao family has something that will be dangerous to Master." Yun Luofeng's expression changed and his eyes darkened. "Before I acted against the Xiao family, why did Yun Xiao not tell me about this?" Qin Yuan grimaced. "Mistress, you are too important in Master's heart. As long as you are happy, even if he puts himself in danger, he will not hesitate." This idiot. Hearing Qin Yuan's words, Yun Luofeng couldn't help but curse Yun Xiao in her mind. In her 2 lives, she had never seen anyone so stupid. But she was often touched by this idiot. "Give me a map to Spirit Realm." Yun Luofeng took a deep breath and said. "Ah." Qin Yuan stilled. "Why are you going to Spirit Realm, mistress?" "Of course it's to look for that idiot Yun Xiao. She was the one who caused this, so how could she leave that idiot behind?" No matter how dangerous it was, she had to go to Spirit Realm. Qin Yuan's expression tensed up. He said embarrassedly, "Mistress, this isn't very good, right? If Master knew that I told Mistress about this matter, he would definitely hack me into pieces." Yun Luofeng shot a sinister look at Qin Yuan and said in a strange tone, Do you choose to be hacked into pieces by him? Or do you want to be executed by me? Don't worry, my methods are definitely more painful than Yun Xiao's. If I don't let you bleed to the last drop of your blood, I won't let you die so easily. Qin Yuan's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with terror. He regretted it. He regretted telling Mistress about this matter. If Master knew, he would definitely not let him go easily. But in the end, Qin Yuan still gritted his teeth. Mistress, please wait a moment. I will go prepare the route to Spirit Realm for you now. Chapter 348. In any case, if Master became angry, with Mistress by his side, he would definitely be able to escape death. If he did not give the map to Mistress now, he might really die from suffering. When he thought of this, Qin Yuan's heart gradually calmed. He did not hesitate any longer and hurriedly went to find the map for Yun Luofeng. Qin Yuan knew very well that here, Master's words did not count. Mistress's words were the imperial edict. Even Master had to carry them out. Therefore, if he could please Mistress, would he be afraid that Master would punish him in the future? The more Qin Yuan thought, the more pleased he became. His efficiency increased. Soon, he found the map and handed it to Yun Luofeng. Mistress, this is the map to Spirit Realm. I promised Zhu Zi to protect Mistress, so I will travel with Mistress this time. Qin Yuan fawned like a dog. If he had a tail, he would be wagging it happily. No need. Yun Luofeng put away the map. Stay here and protect the Yun family. I will go to Spirit Realm alone. But Qin Yuan frowned. There are many experts in Spirit Realm. I fear that Mistress cannot handle them. Yun Luofeng glanced coldly at Qin Yuan. You want to disobey my orders? Fine. When Yun Xiao returns, I will say that you are incompetent and have him punish you. Qin Yuan's expression immediately became bitter. He said pitifully, Mistress, if I let you go to Spirit Realm alone, this subordinate will not be at ease. If something happens to you, Master will not forgive me. Do not worry, with me here, he will not punish you. But if you do not listen to my orders, I can make you wish you were dead. The young girl's voice was as calm as water but caused Qin Yuan's heart to tighten. Mistress, even if you want to punish this subordinate now, this subordinate will still follow you. Qin Yuan grimaced. This subordinate has promised Master to ensure Mistress's safety. Whoosh. Suddenly, a silver needle flew over from the front and pierced into Qin Yuan's body. In an instant, he was unable to move as if he had been paralyzed. He could only look at Yun Luofeng anxiously. Mistress, you can't go to Spirit Realm alone. Yun Luofeng looked at Qin Yuan. After 2 hours, the silver needles on your body will naturally fall off. At that time, you will be able to move freely. During this period of time, I can only trouble you. Mistress. Qin Yuan's expression grew increasingly anxious. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have told the mistress about this. Qin Yuan, I don't know how long I'll be away from Spirit Realm this time. I'm worried about the Yun family, and I can only be at ease if you're here. Also, Sai Qiong still needs you to watch over him. Without you, there's no guarantee that he won't cause a great storm. Qin Yuan wanted to use his spiritual power to force the silver needles out of his body. Unfortunately, his spiritual power seemed to be imprisoned and could not be moved. This time, he had indeed been careless. Because he had never expected Yun Luofeng to suddenly attack. Please. Yun Luofeng looked seriously at the anxious Qin Yuan, who was sweating profusely. The Yun family, as well as my grandfather and second uncle, please take care of them. When Yun Xiao and I return, I will plead on your behalf. Qin Yuan's body shook. He knew that no matter what he said, Yun Luofeng would not let him go. A bitter smile appeared on his face. Mistress, since you have already made up your mind, what else can this subordinate say? If you really want to find Master, then go. I will protect the Yun family for you. Chapter 349. Thank you. Yun Luofeng's black eyes were filled with gratitude as she thanked her sincerely. Qin Yuan's body stiffened. He smiled bitterly and said, Mistress, my master is your man. No matter what this subordinate does, it is only right. This subordinate really can't accept this word from you. He knew that no matter how Yun Luofeng had threatened him, she would never do such a cruel thing to him. The mistress might be arrogant in the outside world, beating people up as she please. However, she treated her own people with sincerity. Otherwise, she wouldn't have thanked him. It was because of such a mistress that he was willing to listen to her orders. Tell my grandfather that I'll be back in at least half a year, 2 to 3 years at most. Yun Luofeng glanced at Qin Yuan one last time before she turned and left the room. She knew that if she told the old man that she wanted to go to Spirit Realm, he would definitely not allow it. Hence, she could only leave secretly. Spirit Realm. Perhaps it was because the young masters and ladies of the Xiao and Ling families had been bullied outside, the entire Spirit Realm was not peaceful. At this moment, an elder sat upright with a stern expression in the Xiao family's great hall. A man and a woman sat below him. The middle-aged man was dressed in a green robe. His eyes were dark as he glanced at the cold man standing in the great hall with disgust. Beside him sat a beautiful woman. She had a beautiful smile on her face, but her eyes were like a venomous snake. Anyone who was looked at by her would feel as if they were being stared at by a venomous snake. Xiao, I've called you back this time because there are 2 things I need you to do. The elder's expression was stern and his eyes were cold like a knife carved into her heart. First, it will be the day Xiao Yuqing inherits the position of family head soon. You've been expelled from the Xiao family and your name has been removed from the ancestral hall. You have no right to participate in this event. However, if Xiao Yuqing wishes to inherit the position of family head, he must open the Xiao family's secret realm. The price of opening the secret realm is the bloodline power of 10 Xiao family disciples. In the main hall, the man remained silent. His handsome face was devoid of expression as his grim, black eyes stared coldly at the old man who was sitting high up in the hall. He was calm and unruffled. Originally, our Xiao clan had already chosen disciples with extremely deep bloodlines. Unfortunately, one of our disciples had died in an accident while on a mission. Because of this, our Xiao clan had used the power of our bloodline to find you. Now that the Xiao clan's bloodline had withered, there were only 10 people with the bloodline to open the secret realm. The bloodline of the other disciples was too weak and did not have the power to open the secret realm. That was why the Xiao family would think of Yun Xiao, who had already left. Back then, Yun Xiao's bloodline power test had shown that his bloodline was very strong. Originally, the Xiao family had placed high hopes on him, but who knew that later on, they slowly discovered that this fellow was just a good-for-nothing. Even Xiao Lin, who was the head of the Xiao family, did not understand why Yun Xiao, who had such a profound bloodline power, would be a piece of trash. Furthermore, no one in the entire Xiao family had inherited a bloodline that was deeper than his. The second thing. Old man Xiao paused, then said, "You and Ling Yaro should call off the engagement. She and Xiao Yuqing are in love with each other. Even if you insist on marrying Ling Yaro, she won't agree. Why make things even more awkward? Based on your talent, you have no right to replace the Xiao family in the marriage alliance with the Ling family." Chapter 350. Xiao Lin had always thought that with such an outstanding young lady like Ling Yaro and the identity of the Ling family's little princess, this good-for-nothing would never be willing to break off the engagement with her. But he never thought that Yun Xiao was no longer the good-for-nothing. Even if he was still the good-for-nothing, he still wouldn't like Ling Yaro. He only cared about Yun Luofeng. All right. Yun Xiao, who had been silent all this while, slowly opened his mouth after hearing this. His voice was as cold as ever. Hearing the man's words, everyone present heaved a sigh of relief. They were really afraid that Yun Xiao wouldn't let go after finding out about his engagement with Ling Yaro. Luckily, this good-for-nothing still knew his place. He knew that he wasn't worthy of the Ling family's little princess. Since that's the case, then hand over the token of your engagement. Xiao Lin similarly heaved a sigh of relief. His tone wasn't as strict as before. Yun Xiao furrowed his brows. "I don't have the token." His words caused everyone's expression to change drastically. The middle-aged man sitting in the lower seat immediately stood up and said with a livid face, "You're talking nonsense. Your damned mother must have handed the token to you. Hand it over immediately. Don't think that I don't know that you just don't want to break off the engagement with Ling Yaro. But you've forgotten, how could the Ling family's daughter like a good-for-nothing like you?" From his point of view, if Yun Xiao didn't hand over the token, it meant that he wasn't willing to break off the engagement. Hearing the middle-aged man's angry voice, Yun Xiao's gaze turned towards him coldly. This man was his father in name, but in his heart, he wasn't his son. Instead, he was his irreconcilable enemy, and if it wasn't for the sake of retrieving that token, the entire Xiao family would no longer exist. I will break off the engagement. Yun Xiao paused. Furthermore, she and I aren't engaged. The only person he wanted to marry was Yun Luofeng. In his eyes, other women were no different from a pile of bones. If you want to break off the engagement, then hand over the token, the middle-aged man said coldly. His eyes were clearly filled with disgust and ridicule. You haven't even handed over the token. Who knows if you really want to break off the engagement or if you're just saying it casually. Seeing her husband's furious expression, the beautiful woman hurriedly soothed the anger in his chest. Her gorgeous face was filled with disdain. Husband, this boy is a good-for-nothing. To be able to be betrothed to the Ling family's little princess is a blessing that he has cultivated for 8 lifetimes. A person like him would definitely not let go of such a good opportunity. Unfortunately, the Ling family's little princess likes my Yu Qing. This good-for-nothing has no chance at all. He was just a piece of trash. Did he think that just because the Xiao clan brought him back, it meant that they had acknowledged his identity? If not for his own son, the Xiao family would not have allowed him to take another step. Her son was still more outstanding. Not only was she called the #1 genius of Spirit Realm, she was also the center of attention and the target of all the women in the world, unlike this trash who only received mockery and mockery. As soon as the beautiful woman finished speaking, Yun Xiao's cold eyes swept over her. This gaze made her feel as if she had fallen into hell, and her entire body was ice-cold. No. Impossible. The beautiful woman bit her lips, and her delicate body trembled. How could this trash have such a terrifying gaze? It was as if he was going to strangle her to death. Even her heart tightened. What happened? The middle-aged man did not know what had happened. He hugged the beautiful woman's trembling body tightly and asked in concern. Chapter 351. Lin Yu shook her head. Her face was slightly pale. This fellow is a good-for-nothing. Why should I be afraid of a good-for-nothing? How could he possibly have the ability to threaten me? Lin Yu's expression gradually returned to normal at the thought of this. She then replied mockingly, "I'm fine, I'm just a little tired. I want to go back and rest." Xiao Chen's heart ached when he saw Lin Yu's tired eyes. He hugged the beautiful woman's soft body tightly and said, "I know you don't want to see this good-for-nothing, but father had called him back for Yu Qing's sake. Bear with it for a while. Once everything is done, we can chase him out of the Xiao family." From Xiao Chen's point of view, the reason why Lin Yu had said that she was feeling unwell was because she had seen this good-for-nothing. Furthermore, this good-for-nothing had shamelessly taken advantage of the Ling family's daughter and refused to let her go. This had made Lin Yu furious. Lin Yu pursed her red lips tightly as her venomous eyes swept across Yun Xiao's body. Then, with Xiao Chen's support, she slowly walked out of the hall. Xiao Lin sat sternly on the high seat and did not stop Xiao Chen and Lin Yu from leaving. His eyes were dignified and domineering as he stared coldly at the cold, expressionless man. "You may leave as well. Without my orders, you are not allowed to come into contact with Ling Yaro." Hearing this, Yun Xiao immediately turned around and walked out of the great hall. He had not replied to Xiao Lin at all, as if he had not heard him at all. His silent attitude made Xiao Lin's face turn ashen with anger. He slammed his palm on the table and said in a cold and harsh voice, "You really are the son of a village woman. You don't know anything at all. You have no upbringing at all. It's a good thing that the Xiao family still has Xiao Yu Qing. Otherwise, I must have committed a sin in my past life to end up like this." Without Xiao Yu Qing, Yun Xiao would be the only direct descendant of the Xiao family. How would that be any different from ending the family line? It's a good thing that he must have done some great good in his past life for the heavens to bestow upon him such an outstanding grandson like Xiao Yuqing. Xiao Lin's expression did not look as ugly as it had initially when he thought of his own grandson. However, his brows were still tightly knitted and his eyes carried a sense of worry. It's going to be the day of succession for the position of master. I wonder where that child, Yuqing, has gone to. He hasn't returned for so long. The spirit realm was different from the Long Yuan nation that Yun Luofeng was in. Although it was on the same continent, it had formed its own space. If one wanted to go to the spirit realm, it would be extremely difficult for an outsider to enter that space unless someone led the way. At this time, on the cloud ridge not far from spirit realm, moonlight shone through the branches and landed on the girl sitting cross-legged next to a tree with her eyes closed. The girl closed her eyes and sat still. Her sleeves fluttered in the breeze, giving off an indescribable sense of beauty. However, no one knew that even though the girl was meditating and cultivating, her consciousness had already secretly entered the divine grimoire space. The divine grimoire space was different from the outside world. It was daytime all day long, and the bright light shrouded the entire space like holy light. Little Mo, do you have any way for me to enter spirit realm? Yun Luofeng lazily leaned against the tea tree. He raised his eyebrows and looked at the pouting little boy squatting in the corner. The little boy's jade-like face was filled with grievance. He glanced at Yun Luofeng with resentment. Master, how long has it been since you came to the divine grimoire space? You asked me about spirit realm the moment you came. I've left this continent for so long, how could I know these things? Chapter 352. Yun Luofeng gently rubbed her chin. After a moment of thought, a light flashed through her eyes. It looks like if I want to enter spirit realm, I must be led by someone from spirit realm. If she had known this would happen, she would have stolen the jade pendant from the Xiao family. Eek. At this time, Milk Tea's voice suddenly rang in Yun Luofeng's mind. Her expression froze. Little Mo, I need to leave for a while. Just as she finished speaking, she felt a suction force from the sky and pulled her consciousness out of the divine grimoire space. When she opened her eyes, an old face suddenly appeared in front of her, giving her a fright. The old man in front of him was rather short and his smiling face looked rather wretched. His white robes did not give off the aura of an immortal, and his head of white hair shone brightly under the night sky. Little girl, we meet again. The little old man greeted Yun Luofeng with a smile. I did not think that we would be so fated to meet here. When she saw the little old man, Yun Luofeng finally recognized his identity. He was the old man who had gotten into a fight with Mu Wuchen at the tea house. He had said that he would come the next day to buy spirit tea. Who would have thought that he would rush over in the middle of the night, take the spirit tea and leave in a hurry? He seemed to be hiding from someone. Why are you here? Yun Luofeng frowned slightly and asked. The little old man chuckled. This is the path to spirit realm. I have come here to go to spirit realm. Little girl, are you interested in going to spirit realm with me? Yun Luofeng looked cautiously at the little old man who had invited her. She did not know if it was her imagination, but she felt that the little old man seemed to know that she was going to spirit realm. The little old man immediately saw through Yun Luofeng's thoughts and curled his lips. I have already said that this is the path to spirit realm. You must be here to go to spirit realm. However, if you want to enter spirit realm, you must be led by someone from spirit realm or have a passage token. Therefore, you have probably been stopped here. What are you going to spirit realm for? Yun Luofeng curled the corner of her lips and stared straight at the little old man with her pitch-black eyes. A smile appeared on her beautiful face. Of course it's to treat illnesses. When it came to what he was good at, the little old man puffed out his chest, his old face filled with pride. Little girl, if you are interested in medical skills, this old man can teach you. I won't charge you any tuition fees. Isn't this old man very generous? Oh. Yun Luofeng touched his nose. Not interested. She was not interested in learning medicine from this old man because she already had the best medical book in her hand. With the divine canon of medicine here, how could the medical skills of others compare? The little old man's smile froze, and he glared fiercely at Yun Luofeng. You little girl, do you know how many people want to learn medicine from me? You actually refuse. If it weren't for the fact that we hit it off, I wouldn't have bothered to teach you. Yun Luofeng glanced at the old man, who was so angry that he was about to stomp his feet, and casually said, when I'm interested, I'll learn medical skills from you. Wait until she was in the mood. The little old man rolled his eyes. Wait until he was interested? How long would that take? However, he had finally met such an interesting little girl, and he did not dare to lose his temper and scare her away. Otherwise, where would he find another girl who could interest him so much? Chapter 353. Little girl, if you want to learn medicine one day, you must come find me. I can teach you medicine at any time. The little old man smiled. He looked at the sky and said hesitantly, it's getting late. If you want to go to Spirit Realm, then come with me. Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed. She didn't think her luck would be so good. Just now, she was worried about how to enter Spirit Realm. She didn't think someone would come to her so quickly. Deep in the cloud ridge, an enormous door stood there. 2 armored guards stood on both sides of the door. They were like statues that did not move in the wind. Stop. The 2 guards saw the little old man and Yun Luofeng slowly walk over and immediately blocked in front of them. They said coldly, please show your pass. The little old man slowly reached his hand into his clothes. However, after searching for a long time, he didn't take out anything. Do you have a pass or not? The 2 guards saw the old man's appearance and instantly became impatient. Their tone was unfriendly. Their expression seemed to say, if you don't have a pass, then get out of here. Don't interfere with their routine work. Strange, where's my pass? The old man's expression was slightly anxious. I clearly have it on me, why can't I find it? Did I accidentally lose it on the way? This time, he had lost a lot of face. Thinking of Yun Luofeng who was standing beside him, the old man's face reddened and his expression became slightly embarrassed. The guard curled his lips in disdain. I've seen too many people like you who want to sneak into Spirit Realm. Don't think that I will let you in just because you found an excuse like this. Let me tell you, without a pass, no one can take a step into Spirit Realm. Through this door, one could reach Spirit Realm. Because Spirit Realm had countless rare materials and treasures, there were many people who wanted to sneak into Spirit Realm. Unfortunately, people without a pass could not take a step into Spirit Realm. The little old man frowned, his expression not very good. After all, with his status on the continent, he had never been mocked like this before. Do you know who I am? The little old man snorted in annoyance. I was invited by the people of Spirit Realm to treat my illness. Can you bear the responsibility if I am delayed? Besides, it's not that I don't have a pass, it's just that I can't find it all of a sudden. All these years, where had he not been treated with the utmost respect? This was the first time he was given the cold shoulder. If he wasn't afraid of scaring Yun Luofeng, he would have long made a move against these idiots who had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I don't care who you are. Without a pass, no one is allowed to take one step into Spirit Realm. The guard lifted his chin arrogantly, his eyes filled with disdain, clearly not taking this little old man seriously. Just as the little old man was about to explode in anger, the sound of horse hooves could be heard from behind him, heading straight towards the gate of the spiritual domain. He frowned as he looked at the group of people who were stepping on the dust, but he quickly turned his gaze away. Among those people, the leader was a handsome young man. His facial features were very exquisite, as if they were carved. His thin lips that were lightly pursed carried a cold curve, and his eyes were so cold that there was no warmth at all. Although Yun Qingya was also a cold type of man, there was warmth in his coldness, unlike the person in front of him, who had a cold aura all over his body. Young Master Xiao. The 2 guards saw the young man who was stepping on the dust, and their eyes lit up. They said respectfully, "You've returned." Chapter 354. Xiao Yuqing nodded. Her cold eyes slowly swept towards the 2 guards in front of the door. She said coolly, "Open the door." "Yes, young Master Xiao." The guard responded respectfully, turned around, and was about to open the door. However, the little old man was immediately displeased when he saw this scene. He said mockingly, "I remember someone just said that no matter who comes, they need to check the pass. Are you going back on your word now?" The guard's expression turned cold. He snorted coldly, "Old man, do you know who he is? This is the young master of the Xiao family, one of the 3 great families of Spirit Realm. He definitely doesn't need any pass to come back. How can an old man like you compare to him? If you don't have a pass, get out of here." The Xiao family of the 3 great families? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes slightly. A dangerous light flashed through his eyes. This meant that this Xiao family should be the Xiao family that had driven Yun Xiao out of the family. Who would have thought that enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road, to actually meet someone from the Xiao clan here? It seems that like dog, like master. Yun Luofeng looked at the cold man sitting on the horse and said with a cold smile. The little old man looked with slight surprise at Yun Luofeng. For some reason, he had a feeling that this young master of the Xiao family seemed to have a grudge against her. "What do you mean?" The little old man chuckled and asked. No matter what, he had to cooperate with Yun Luofeng at a time like this. Who asked this little girl to please him more? Yun Luofeng swept a glance at him and his lips curled in an evil smile. "Can't you see? These 2 guards guarding Spirit Realm are the 2 dogs raised by the Xiao family. Their master has returned, and the dogs have to open the door for their master." The expressions of the 2 guards suddenly changed. They glared fiercely at Yun Luofeng. "Stupid girl, how dare you? We know the identity of the Xiao family's young master and naturally do not need to interrogate you. But you people, don't think that I don't know that you want to sneak into Spirit Realm for those precious herbs. If you don't want to die, then hurry up and leave. Don't force me to take action." Yun Luofeng did not seem to hear the words of the 2 guards. He looked smilingly at Xiao Yuqing. "I heard that the first madam of the Xiao family was only promoted by a concubine, and the son of the Xiao family's patriarch favors his concubine over his wife. This matter has been known for a long time. I am curious, how can such a Xiao family still remain in Spirit Realm?" Xiao Yuqing's mother, Lin Yu, was a famous prostitute in the brothel. She had already had an affair with Xiao Chen and gave birth to Xiao Yuqing. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen still had high hopes for Yun Xiao back then. Hence, he did not marry Lin Yu and was even more afraid that Lin Yu would be bullied. Hence, he took her in as his mistress. Who knew that Yun Xiao's wastrel innate talent would be completely revealed, and after some discussion, the Xiao family chased Yun Xiao out of the family. Even her mother was demoted to a concubine. And Lin Yu took Xiao Yuqing and occupied the Xiao family. It had to be said that although Lin Yu was the top girl in the brothel, her talent was not bad. She was also very powerful. Otherwise, Xiao Chen would not have fallen in love with her for so many years. In order to protect her, she took him in as a concubine. But even so, in Yun Luofeng's heart, Lin Yu was just a concubine. Who told Xiao Chen to already have a wife at the time? Xiao Yuqing's expression darkened. Her clear eyes gradually looked towards the white-clothed girl in front of her. She said indifferently, "My mother is not a concubine." Chapter 355. Yun Luofeng had already made her preparations to fight Xiao Yuqing. Who would have thought that he would say this in such a carefree manner? Instantly, a disdainful smile appeared on her pitilessly beautiful face. A concubine is a concubine. Not only did she ascend as a concubine, she even wanted to harm the Xiao family's first son to strengthen your position in the Xiao family. But I never thought that such a shameless person could become the mistress of the Xiao family. Isn't the Xiao family afraid of being humiliated? Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, the Xiao family guards were enraged. They pulled out their weapons and were about to teach her a lesson. However, they had only taken a few steps when Xiao Yuqing raised her hand and stopped the guards. "Do you have a grudge against the Xiao family?" Xiao Yuqing's gaze was as cold as moonlight. It poured down on her body, but she could not feel any warmth. "Or are you related to my father's mistress?" "Apologies, I'm just a person who likes to stand up for injustice." Yun Luofeng smiled coldly. Her arrogant eyes contained a stern aura. I can't bear to see the Xiao family bullying the weak. That's why I couldn't control myself and stood up for injustice. Xiao Yuqing's expression grew even colder. Her clear eyes stared coldly at Yun Luofeng as she slowly said, "You haven't even figured out the truth yet you're standing up for injustice? My mother may have been my father's mistress, but she was the first to meet my father and fall in love with him. Unfortunately, that woman took away my mother's servant girl. My mother is kind by nature and treats her servant girl like a sister. That's why my mother was forced to leave my father just now to save her servant girl's life. Yet you say that this is all my mother's fault. Did you experience this personally?" Yun Luofeng glanced sideways at Xiao Yuqing. Her eyes were filled with mockery. "No." Xiao Yuqing shook her head. "My mother told me. Also, the entire spirit realm knows about this. So if you haven't figured out the truth, don't speak to avoid trouble." Yun Luofeng sneered in her heart. She had not thought that Xiao Yuqing's mother would distort the truth for her own reputation. She pushed all the blame onto Yun Xiao's mother. After all, compared to Xiao Yuqing, she trusted Yun Xiao more. "I think the one who really doesn't understand is you." Yun Luofeng stretched lazily, his slightly narrowed eyes shining with an evil light. "Go back and tell your mother, if you don't want people to know, then don't do it. The things she has done will be exposed to the light one day. Kindness. If that woman was kind, then there would be no evil people in this world." Not only had she pushed Yun Xiao's mother away, she had even thrown the young Yun Xiao into a place like the forest of no return. Would a person who could do such a thing sacrifice his own happiness for a servant girl? The answer was impossible. Now, every time she thought of the pain Yun Xiao had suffered, she would have the urge to chop him into 8 pieces. Found it. Just as the two of them were about to clash, the little old man suddenly let out a maniacal and excited laugh. "Ha ha ha, I had forgotten that I had stuffed the jade tablet into the sole of my shoe. Now I've finally found him. Brat, you still don't dare to come in? Open the door for this old man." The old man raised his head proudly, his disdainful gaze sweeping towards the 2 guards guarding the door. "What did you say just now? This old man snuck into spirit realm to steal rare materials and treasures? Hurry up and come over here, open your dog eyes and see what this thing in this old man's hand is." Chapter 356. The guard who had just mocked did not think that the little old man really had an entry token and stilled. The other guard was calmer. He did not even look at the little old man and said coldly, "Regardless of whether you have an entry token, you must let young Master Xiao through the door. Spirit Realm's entry tokens are also divided into ranks. Whoever's rank is higher will have the priority to enter Spirit Realm." The little old man frowned, his voice clearly angry. "That boy tricked me. I came to Spirit Realm to treat him, and was refused entrance. Not just that, he wants me to make way for someone else. Ever since this old man's name shook the continent, I have never been treated like this." Yun Luofeng looked at the golden jade token in the little old man's hand. "You hid this jade token under your feet. Do you not feel uncomfortable? Also, this jade token is so uncomfortable, you can't feel it." The little old man, who had originally been angry at the guard's words, immediately blushed when he heard Yun Luofeng's voice. He said embarrassedly, I was indeed too careless. I was worried that I would accidentally lose the jade pendant, so I hid it under my feet." The guard frowned slightly and looked coldly at the old and young blocking the door. He said impatiently, "Have you said enough? If you have, then go to the side. Did you not see that young Master Xiao has been waiting here for a long time?" In Spirit Realm, there was a rule. The higher the jade token, the higher the qualification to enter. This was a symbol of status and power. If someone else were to enter first, it would be equivalent to being dwarfed. This was something that no powerhouse would want to happen. The little old man knew this. With his temper, how could he be willing to be lower than others? Therefore, he straightened his body, raised his head and said, "On this continent, only others give way to me. I have never given way to others. If I give in today, and this matter spreads out, where do you want me to put my face? Face? Your reputation is comparable to that of the Xiao clan's young master. You." The guard wanted to continue mocking him, but suddenly, he saw the golden jade token in the old man's hand, and his face froze. Golden jade token? This old man held the noblest golden jade token in all of Spirit Realm? But wasn't the golden jade token only given out by that faction? Could it be that this old man was someone invited by that faction? The little old man did not understand why the guard had suddenly stopped talking, and he could not help but look at him in puzzlement. What did you want to say just now? The guard quivered and came back to his senses. He and his companion looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Senior, the guard no longer dared to show the contemptuous attitude he had before and quickly turned to face the little old man respectfully. I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai earlier and have offended this senior. I ask for senior's magnanimity to forgive me. The little old man was stunned, his eyes filled with astonishment. It was obvious that he did not know the reason for the guard's sudden change in attitude. Do you have a fever? Just a moment ago, he had been acting all high and mighty, but now he was bowing and scraping. Other than being sick, the little old man could not think of any other reason. The guard laughed embarrassedly. I just did not notice the jade token in your hand and did not know which faction you are from. Old senior, I will open the door and let you in now. Only then did the little old man come to a sudden realization. He said in understanding, so that fellow didn't cheat me. The jade plate he gave me was a grade higher than the Xiao clan's. Otherwise, if he wanted me to make way for the Xiao clan's brat, I would definitely turn around and leave. Chapter 357. The guard's heart trembled. He was clearly frightened. It seemed that this little old man was really someone invited by that power. From his words, he could tell that he was here to cure his illness. If he really angered him and left, he might be torn to pieces by that power. Thinking of this, the guard became even more worried, afraid that the little old man would report him to that power. Seeing this, Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes and examined the little old man in front of her. What are you looking at? The little old man turned to look at Yun Luofeng. After meeting the young girl's eyes, which were filled with evil, his entire body trembled and he hurriedly covered his chest. Don't tell me you've fallen for me. Let me tell you, I'm a chaste person. I'd rather die than submit. Yun Luofeng's face darkened. I'm just curious about your identity. This. The old man's eyes shifted a few times and he said with a smile, if you acknowledge me as your master, I'll tell you. How about that? Then forget it. Yun Luofeng shrugged her shoulders and walked towards the open door. When she reached the door, she stopped. With her back facing Xiao Yuqing, she gently raised the corners of her lips and said, have you ever heard of this saying? A debt of blood should be tasted with blood. Your mother did so many things in order to rise to the top. One day, someone will come to seek revenge on her. Saying this, she did not look back and stepped into the door of the spiritual realm. Xiao Yuqing stared in the direction that the young girl had left. A light flashed in his clear and cold eyes. Then, his gaze turned to the little old man who was putting away the golden jade tablet. Golden jade tablet? Which power was he from? It seemed that the two people he had met today were not simple, young master. The Xiao clan's guard stepped forward and cupped his fists. Shall we continue our journey? Millimeter, Xiao Yuqing nodded indifferently. We must return to the Xiao family within 3 days. Higher. After saying this, Xiao Yuqing whipped the green horse's body. Immediately, the green horse galloped madly towards the main gate, kicking up a cloud of dust behind it that floated in the air for a long time. On the uneven mountain path, the little old man's gaze was curiously sizing up the young girl beside him. Only when the young girl stopped walking did he awkwardly and dryly laugh twice. Girl, tell me, do you have a grudge against that boy from the Xiao family? I've already said that I'm just standing up for the injustice. The corners of the young girl's lips curled up slightly. Her voice was calm and steady. However, her black eyes were filled with arrogance and dominance. She was like a wild horse that could not be tamed, arrogant and unruly. Fight for justice? The little old man rolled his eyes. Do you think I'm stupid? A person like you will fight for justice? If it wasn't for that brat from the Xiao clan angering you, you wouldn't have said those harsh words. Moreover, with his understanding of Yun Luofeng, this girl's personality was calm and steady. She had always been the one to cheat people in the dark. This could be seen just from the time she had cheated Mu Wuchen in the tea house. However, this time, facing Xiao Yuqing, she had completely lost her usual calmness. Every word was filled with thorns. If there wasn't any deep hatred between them, she would never have said such provocative words. I don't like him. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows devilishly. Her words completely exposed the nature of a hedonistic son of rich parents. Do you think I'll believe you? The little old man pursed his lips. If this little girl wanted to lie, she should have found a better reason. He would not believe that Yun Luofeng was purely unhappy with Xiao Yuqing. Chapter 358. Why not? Yun Luofeng's lips rose and she said arrogantly, since you have stayed in Longyuan Nation, you should know what kind of person I am. I just don't like him, there is no other reason. Seeing that Yun Luofeng was determined not to tell him the reason, the little old man did not ask any further. He then sighed and said, this old man really likes you, little girl, and has the heart to take you as my disciple. Alas, you are unwilling to accept my good intentions. Since that is the case, I will not force you. If you have any needs, you can find me at any time. I will do my best to help you. The little old man's words caused a wave of warmth to flow through Yun Luofeng's heart. However, the Xiao family was a matter between her and Yun Xiao. She would not let anyone else interfere, unless she really had no other choice. Thank you. These two words carried Yun Luofeng's most sincere gratitude. No matter what, she accepted the little old man's good intentions. Ha, the little old man smiled as he rubbed his hands. If you want to thank me, give me a few more catties of spirit tea. TSK, I really miss the taste of this spirit tea. All right. This time, Yun Luofeng did not refuse the little old man. She was silent for a moment and then added, the spirit tea I will give you this time is even better than last time. What? Even better than the spirit tea last time? The little old man's eyes lit up and he almost drooled. He stared nervously at Yun Luofeng. Then, can you give me that spirit tea now? Hearing this, Yun Luofeng took out a bag of spirit tea from her spatial ring and handed it to the little old man. This is your reward for bringing me into spirit realm. Looking at the tea bag in the girl's hand, the little old man's breathing sped up. He snatched the spirit tea and hurriedly put it into his spatial ring, as though he was afraid that Yun Luofeng would take it back. Little girl, if you have any missions to lead the way in the future, please find me. I will definitely be there. Even if it was for the spirit tea, he was willing to be Yun Luofeng's guide. Right. The little old man seemed to think of something and raised his head to look at Yun Luofeng. Do you know the map of spirit realm? Yun Luofeng shook her head. Qin Yuan had only given her the route to spirit realm. She hadn't obtained a map of spirit realm yet. If that's the case, then follow me first. I'm going to treat a patient. When I get there, I'll ask them to prepare a map for you. Moreover, if you're going to Xiao City, we're going the same way. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. There was a hint of a smile in his evil black eyes. It seemed that this was the only way. After all, she was very unfamiliar with spirit realm. If there was no one to guide her, it would be very difficult for her to find the way to the Xiao family. Spiritual God Mountain Range. It was one of the forbidden lands of spirit realm. It was said that this mountain range was left behind by the spirit god back then, so it was named the Spirit God Mountain Range. However, this was only a legend. Whether it was true or not, no one knew. At that moment, in a courtyard at the foot of the mountain, the little old man paused in his steps. There was a sense of seriousness in his eyes as he took a deep breath. His elderly hand slowly landed on the ancient door. Before he could push it open, the door opened with a creak. Miracle Doctor, you've finally come. In the courtyard, a man poked his head out. His gaze turned and then stopped on the little old man. There was clear joy on his face. Chapter 359. What's the situation? The little old man was startled and his expression was unprecedentedly serious. "Godly doctor, my lord is waiting for you in the courtyard. Please follow me." The man opened the door and his slender eyes stared at the beautiful young girl next to the little old man. He frowned and asked, "By the way, this young lady is my disciple." The little old man replied calmly, "So she's the godly doctor's disciple." The man heaved a sigh of relief. After all, this was a matter of great importance and he could not let anyone else know about it. If she was the little old man's disciple, then it would be a different story. Yun Luofeng looked at the little old man and quickly turned away. He then followed the man into the main hall. The mansion was a little old and dilapidated. The ground was overgrown with weeds as if no one had lived in it for a very long time. However, no matter how dilapidated the mansion was, it could not conceal the luxuriously dressed man in the main hall. This man was very powerful. From afar, one could feel the awe-inspiring aura from his body. He was like a high and mighty emperor, his domineering aura was natural. "Godly doctor." When the man saw the old man at the door, his handsome and domineering features lit up with a smile. However, his smile was filled with sadness and his face was filled with helplessness. "I've waited for you for a long time. I wonder if you can come with me to see my daughter's condition." The little old man nodded solemnly. "All right, take me to her." "Godly doctor, please." The middle-aged man made an affectionate gesture and walked to the curtains. He then raised his hand and lifted the curtains that blocked the entrance to the back hall. There was a wooden bed in the back hall and a pale-faced little girl was lying on it. The little girl was around 13 years of age. She looked like she was carved from jade and was very adorable. Her eyes were gently shut and her long eyelashes were like cattail leaf fans, trembling slightly. Her face was so pale that it was almost translucent. "Xiaobai's condition is worsening and I'm afraid that she won't be able to hold on any longer. That's why I've come all the way here to find you. Godly doctor, you know that Xiaobai's identity is a little special so she can't die." The man's gaze was fixed on the young girl on the bed and he could not bear to look away. His eyes were filled with worry and deep anticipation for his beloved daughter. "Master, the blood in this girl's body is a little special." Just as Yun Luofeng was looking at the girl, little Mo's surprised voice came from within her soul. "Special?" Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and asked, "What makes her special?" Little Mo bit her lips. "I've been away from this continent for too long. There are many things that I don't understand, and my knowledge is not as vast as it used to be. All I know is that if you save her, she will be of great use to you in the future." Yun Luofeng fell silent. She trusted little Mo very much. Since little Mo said this, it proved that this little girl really had something special about her. However, she did not rush into action. Instead, she turned her gaze towards the little old man. The little old man furrowed his brows and his elderly face was grave. "Xiao Ruo Bai's condition isn't very good. I need to diagnose her first, but I can't guarantee that I can cure her." Hearing this, the man's heart clenched and a layer of sweat appeared on his forehead. The godly doctor had never failed in treating a patient. But now, he said that even he might not be able to cure Xiao Bai. Chapter 360. Godly doctor, no matter what, I'm already very grateful that I'm willing to save my daughter. The man slowly returned to his senses and the corners of his lips curled into a bitter smile. "If she really can't be saved, then I can only say that this is her fate." The little old man did not say anything else and slowly walked to the bed. He placed his hand gently on the young girl's pulse and his originally tightly knitted brows furrowed even more. "I knew that her condition wasn't too good, but I never thought that it would be this serious. Now that her internal organs have been destroyed, unless someone is willing to donate their organs, there's no saving her." The man's heart trembled and his eyes gradually darkened. After a moment, he seemed to have made a great decision and gritted his teeth. "Godly doctor, can I donate my organs?" "No." The little old man shook his head. "The difference in power between you two is too great, so there's no way for her to use your organs. Otherwise, it would only hasten her death." The man's body stiffened. In that instant, he looked as if he had aged a few decades and half of his hair had turned white. It was obvious that he had been worried about his daughter's situation over this period of time. Xiao Bai has a kind nature. If the organs of another child were to be used to save her, she would rather die. The middle-aged man laughed bitterly, his expression filled with sorrow. It's laughable that I have such great power, but I can't even save my own daughter. Since that's the case, what's the use of my power? Don't blame yourself too much. This isn't your fault. The little old man patted the man on the shoulder and said with a sigh. No. The man clutched his head tightly and said in agony, you don't know how I feel. Back then, I couldn't protect my wife. Now, I can't even save my daughter. What's the point of living for a useless good-for-nothing like me? The little old man wanted to continue persuading him, but before he could speak, the young girl's cold and emotionless voice rang out. Since you want to die so badly, you might as well bang your head against the wall and die. It's better than grumbling here. The man in green who had led Yun Luofeng and the little old man into the main hall heard Yun Luofeng's words and his face changed. His eyes filled with rage. Can't you see that my lord is already so broken-hearted and you're still mocking him? What are your intentions? If not for the fact that this woman was the disciple of the divine doctor, he would have thrown her out long ago. She actually dared to say such words when Master was heartbroken. She was clearly doing it on purpose. Dai Li, the man waved his hand and stopped Dai Li. He looked at Yun Luofeng with a bitter smile. You're right. People like me should just kill themselves. I can't even protect my wife and daughter. What use am I? That's right. Yun Luofeng nodded in agreement. So, you can kill yourself here now and let the people who hurt your wife and daughter go free. In the beginning, the little old man had not understood the meaning behind Yun Luofeng's taunting of men. But now, he suddenly understood and did not stop the young girl's actions, but merely stood silently by the side of the bed to observe Lin Ruobai's condition. Yun Luofeng saw the change in the man's expression and continued, you said one thing right just now. You are a good-for-nothing. Not only can you not protect your wife and daughter, you don't even have the courage to avenge them. A good-for-nothing like you really doesn't have the right to live in this world. It's better for you to kill yourself. The man's expression became more and more pained. He hugged his head tightly and squatted on the ground. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.